Welcome, Merrimack. This is the October 17th Board of Commissioners meeting of the Merrimack Village District. Public participation for this meeting is offered by webinar. You can join that webinar by going to the mvdwater.org webpage and downloading the agenda for tonight's meeting, October 17th. Or you can call 646-876-9923 and enter the webinar ID 835-4721-0769. And if you do access that meeting agenda for tonight's meeting off our website, there's a Zoom link on there that you can click and join the meeting. And as a courtesy, Merrimack TV is also recording this meeting and will be posted on their website at a later date, as well as typically it's run on channel 20 in the town cable television channel. So at this time, we will, let's all rise to conduct the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Call this meeting to order at 5:01. And in the room here, we have 3 commissioners present. Wolf Von Shawn and John Lyons have been excused for tonight's meeting, so we do have a quorum here in the room of 3 of the 5 commissioners. I'm aware that Michelle Holton, the Finance and Human Resources Director, is absent for tonight, so we will be foregoing the analysis of revenue and expenditures report and the bank account summary review. But if any of the commissioners have any questions on that, please feel free to email Michelle directly with any questions, and we'll hopefully get answers if you have any of those questions. So with that, we'll move directly into the regular session here. And first on the agenda is the Board of Commissioners to receive updates from Underwood Engineers for the various ongoing projects that we have at wells 2, 3, wells 4 and 5, wells 7 and 8, and then we'll be discussing a Pennichuck wholesale water purchase agreement, draft agreement. So with that, I recognize Peter Pitsis from Underwood Engineers joining us by Zoom.
Hello.
How you doing, Peter? Good to see
Good.
you.
And yourself?
Good. And we got Keith Pratt from Underwood as well. Just popped in.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Right. So the update on the 2-3 project. So contractor, is moving along still, looking to pave near the end of the month. He is at, I don't want to say a stopping point, but definitely a holding point, in the sense that we do not have the VFD for well 2. That was supposed to be shipped in August. It's not here. The VFD for well 9 was supposed to be shipped in December. We also do not have the generator, which was supposed to be shipped in August.
Wow.
Last thing is we do not have, I believe we're still missing one of the valves that we need to do the work at the well 2 building. We have tried multiple times to ask the contractor about when, a schedule for delivery of those things. And he has always come back with a vague answer is, I don't know, no update, And I asked him, I said, can you give us, copies of emails that you had back and forth, to reference something, is it 2 months? Is it 4 months, 6 months, whatever, I don't know what it is. And he will not give that. So he's not being totally cooperative with relaying any information for well 2. So along with that, if we have no idea when that's coming in, we have talked to some other, contractors that we have some projects with. And one of them we spoke to today, and he said that Eaton, that's the manufacturer of VFDs, are and for large horsepower pumps, which we have a 200 horse and a 250 horse, that they're far out and it's very difficult to know when they're going to get delivered. And Eaton is not being that forthcoming with information either. So with that said, we don't have any idea when we would get the VFD, so if we do any of the work down at the well 2 building, the first work that they have to do is demo the existing electrical and demo the existing controls. And then if we did that, then you would not have the use of well 2 at all, because there would be no way to run the new pump because there's no VFD in there. So we have, with talking with Ron, I believe he spoke with you and saying, we want to, sort of keep this, supply available, instead of, because once he gets in there and does the work, you're kind of dead there, So we have been delaying the contractor doing that work, and we probably want to continue doing that. I know Ron's sort of in favor of that, because he doesn't want to lose a supply, especially your best one. I know you're going into the winter months, but we still don't even know when the VFD is ever going to get here. So that's a little concerning, to us on that side.
Is that I'm just curious, is that overseas or is that domestic? They for the electrical?
I'm not sure where the Eaton ones are coming from. I believe it's the same ones that we are looking for the well 4-5, and I think they were coming from Mexico, but that's just, they don't hold me to that one. I think that's what it is. So we're kind of stuck there a little bit on where to proceed with that.
So does the contractor have any incentive to keep, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, or the VFD in this case, I guess, but does he have any incentive to keep pressing the suppliers for this? I mean, I'm assuming he wants to be done and gone with the project as well.
Yep.
But other than that, I mean, I don't know that we have any priority over other people who are asking for the same VFDs. I want to, what are we doing or what is he doing to kind of get us out in front of others that might be asking for the same delivery?
And we are not getting any input from him on that, So
Right.
We have asked for update, and he just says, no new update. And I'm like, so I was asking for some of those correspondence so we can at least see that, hey, we're bothering them, every week or every day or whatever. I don't know what it is, so we don't know, So I assume they are, I assume they want to get out of there, but if the well 2 VFD is getting delayed this much, then that means well 9 is going to get, delayed probably similar to that. So we are supposed to get the well 9 one was supposed to ship, so 4 months after the well 2 one, but I don't know if that's, that's the case. So
Do we need put a formal request in to get update from the board?
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to figure out how do we contractually, get the contractor to respond.
yeah, we have told him multiple times. We said, because he wants to get in there and do that work in well 2 so he can get done, with his work. And we said, we do not want to give you well 2, until you know when, the VFD is, being shipped and that type of thing. So if we know there's a ship date and all that, we can verify a ship date, then that's great. Then you can start the work. About time the VFD comes, you can install it and we can be on our way. But we told them, we said, we really can't make that decision until you give us some information on when it's going to get shipped. We can't, and I agree, I agree with Ron's, hesitance on that, because if you lose that supply and then all of a sudden, so well 5 pump went down, if something happened to another plant or something else, you don't want to give up that supply. And I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about for time. Does this extend into the spring?
Right.
Yeah, no idea. And then the other thing that he did that, was unbeknownst to us until he did it, when he ran the power into the well, into the new treatment plant, he disconnected the power line down to the well 2. So well 2 is right now only being run by generator, and we said, but once he did that, we're like, okay, if the VFD is coming in short term, then yeah, you can stick a generator down there. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but you can do that. But if it's going to be for months and months, that's going to be a little tricky, and especially if you get into winter months. So that generator is only running, when you want to run the well pump. So, and you have to go down there and manually start the generator, manually start the pump station up, and then once it's started up, then the RTU is functioning, communicating with, the rest of the system, and can run in automatic mode on that. But once the generator is turned off, then that facility again loses communication, that type of thing. So when you get into the winter months, you don't want to be running that generator, all the time. So you probably have to set up some sort of a smaller generator to run a heater in there. And so when he did that, he kind of handcuffed us a little bit. And if we knew the VFD was coming in a short term, that would be one thing. And if it's going to be longer term, it causes some problems for the district.
So is it MVD staff that has to go down there and activate the generator and turn well 2 on? And
Yeah.
I assume we're paying for the fuel for the generator?
We're keeping record.
Yeah, so you're paying for the fuel for that, but you're not paying electricity, right? Because under other conditions, if you were still running that under normal conditions, you would be paying electrical charges. So yeah. The delta is the diesel fuel costs subtract off the electrical costs.
Which I'm thinking the diesel fuel cost is probably higher than the electrical cost, and plus
And you got labor.
And our staff
Hours
hours.
wasting time to go start a generator.
And he made this electrical disconnection unbeknownst to us?
Yeah, we didn't know, so we knew that they were going to be running power into the building, but at the same time, they disconnected the power to the pump station. And one of the reasons, that happened was the existing pole was sort of in the middle of the parking lot that they were looking to pave, so that would have, something would have had to get done to slide that over, so it would still continue down the road. But the existing power kind of zigzagged down the road a little bit just to stay away from the trees.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't need to do that because there's no trees there anymore. So that would have had to get slid over, but yeah, so he did that. And, we didn't know that until all of a sudden, Eversource is gone. You got power to the plant and no power to the pump station.
Is there any way we can have them reconnected?
We could do that. I think the Ron, are the poles gone all the way down to the pump station and the wire gone, or what got demoed there? I know the poles by the plant are gone.
I'd have to look. I believe the wire is still on the poles. That might have just got cut at that. So the pole that was in the middle of the parking lot got removed.
Yeah.
I believe the wires were cut at the next pole, but I'd have to verify that. I'm not 100% on that, but I believe that's what they did. 'Cause I don't know why they would have removed the poles and everything, I guess, altogether. But I know the poles are still there.
I think that'd be a better option, because don't we have, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we have a lock rate with Eversource?
We do.
So we have, and that's been what, last year? When was that locked in?
I think we have another year or we might have two.
So, but I mean, how far back?
It was a 3-year
So
contract we signed.
we're paying more for diesel now than we did back then, so I think it'd be best, everybody's best solutions, we have them try to get reconnected, the power.
Yeah, I mean, how possible would it be to reconnect the power?
Yeah, and I'm not sure what that, exactly what that would take, and then getting on to Eversource's schedule to get them out there, you know. It's, we certainly can move down that path.
I mean, especially you don't have any date when stuff's coming at it.
Yeah, so we were expecting it to come in, again, we don't have any information from the contractors. We keep guessing of when, we're like going, okay, it's, probably coming in. Then once we, made that call today and found out that, Eaton's are out a long time and they're not giving any information. Now all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're in October right now, it's not going to be too long until we're going to be needing heat in there and stuff. And it's, if they don't, we don't have any plan, then, yeah, let's start looking at some, a contingency plan to get the power back there.
What do we have for heat? What is the source of heat in there? It's not all electric, right?
I believe
Yeah.
it- Yeah.
It is really?
Yeah.
So we don't have any gas or propane or anything out there?
No,
Wow.
But we have gas now to the new plant, but we don't, not going down there.
A line going to the pump house.
To the pump house.
All right, so we got heat in the main treatment plant though.
yes, yeah.
I thought
The
you were
treatment
talking
plant
about-
is powered and everything. Yeah, because that, when we powered the plant, at that point, we lost power to the pump station. So the plant is, has power and all that, but we don't have it down below.
And the power is not arranged in the same configuration to power well 2, which is across the line start right now.
Yeah, because, yeah, we can't power that, because that was supposed to get powered from the plant down there, but it really can't do that because you don't have, the VFD to power it,
So that's still a 3-phase motor in are we replacing the well pump at well 2? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. Because we have to get a pump that has a higher head to push through the
Treatment.
GAC and then up to the tank.
But there's no way to power that existing pump and without going through the GAC vessels right now?
I guess the only way we could possibly do it is, and we could connect, and I'm not sure how, you physically could do this, but you could connect up the VFD cable that we have up at the plant, through the disconnect that they have there, feed the plant down there, I don't know if you can do that. That might be a way. You have a wire going down there, but this is not just a type of thing where you just have a wire, you do a couple wire nuts and you connect up a little, like
Sure,
scab your
yeah.
generator together at your house. This VFD cable is 500 MCM cable, so each leg of the 3-phase, those wires are a little over an inch diameter. So it's big wire, so you would have to, and I'm not even, we had to put I think we would have to put a separate disconnect at the plant for that, because I don't think there is one for it. So we had to get a separate disconnect, have a temporary connection there, then have that run down a temporary connection into the main feed down at the pump station, which they could do. I think they could do that. I'd have to check with electrical, to see if that could be an option. But that is, there's a wire there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you could at least check on that, that could be an interim solution. I mean, contractually, what is the contractor's obligation and what if he fails to perform per the contract. I know he's got valid reasons for his suppliers, but
Yeah.
how is really that written? I don't remember how that,
Yeah, so what, we didn't have anything specifically in there, I don't believe on, you can't cut power. We had something in there saying, don't cut power off the well too. That, the district needs that as it's, one of it, or it's probably his best supply, type of things. We had something in there on that, and we were communicating with them on when that could possibly get shut down. And, so we were doing, that was all working well up until August, because we were planning on August 29th shutting down that well and, starting to work in there. And that was with the understanding that the VFD was going to be shipped in August and that it would be coming in either the end of August or early September. But then when we found out in August at the project meeting that the VFD was not going to be shipped in August and he had no date, that's when we were like, okay, we don't feel comfortable shutting down the well then and losing that supply.
right?
So we were initially thinking about kicking it off a month or so until Columbus Day, when the high use was going to go off, and then, then, we were hoping that then there would be some idea of when the VFD would be coming and we could, shut it down. But now if they have no idea and we're getting that additional information that it's, could be a long time, then sort of, I don't know, allowing them to get in and do the work right now is the best thing.
No, I agree with that. I wouldn't feel comfortable just demolishing the well 2 building unless we know we got the VFD for that well. Was this equipment ordered at the right time, or was there a delay in ordering after, we
So,
approved
Yeah,
the
so
contract?
when we first started the project, we knew that, generators were a long lead time, and we knew that electrical equipment was a long lead time and stuff like that. And there were some supply issues because we had that problem at 4 or 5. So we expressed to them that, we need to get these shop drawings in as soon as possible. They came in, relatively early, but they certainly could have come in earlier. The VFD one actually required 2, the original submission and 2 resubmittals before it got approved. So it got approved, I believe, the first week of January for the well 2 one. And then that was, I assume it was ordered immediately. And the well 9 one, I believe, was approved like the first week of March. And then that was ordered. I assume they ordered them right off the bat. So it certainly, I think the original submittal on that came in October timeframe. So that original one certainly could have come in earlier because we signed the contract, and I forget what it was. I think the end of June is when we were signing the contract. So
That's from 21, right? You're talking
yeah,
about?
21. Yeah.
Wow. Can you ask the contractor for evidence to support when he ordered those VFDs? I'm just not sure what contractually what leverage we have over him. I can understand if his suppliers aren't giving him answers, but if it sounds like he's not even asking much or something, I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not, that's again, we don't know what he's asking and how frequently he's asking. And also, they chose to use Eaton VFDs. If you use some other manufacturer, I from what we hear from another, contractor, they're more readily available, so, their choice of who to use too. And the specification was open. It listed 4 different manufacturers to use. So they were free to ask, or
Right.
get it from, other people. So.
I mean, I don't know if, like, just trying to understand legally what I think he should be paying for the diesel on this if he decided to take the power away from the well on his own. Have we talked about that to him yet, or,
No, because we were expecting it, again, we are expecting the VFD to be coming in sometime soon, and we were like going, okay, so there's a little bit of a diesel cost, but it's an offset by, no electrical cost, so it's like, okay, is it a
Yeah.
big, is it a big thing for a month or something, type of thing. But if it's gonna be going multiple months, then I think it does,
right?
get into some more costs.
I mean, I think we should make him aware that we're expecting him that, if he took it upon himself to disconnect the electrical power to that well. And now we're faced with, either he can figure out how to repower it on his own nickel at no cost to us,
Yeah, I would order it back, get it reinstalled.
right? Because we don't want to be messing around with a generator in the middle of the winter. And if that's going to be the solution, then you can supply a laborer there to turn the generator on for us too. I think we got to light a fire under this guy, and
I would
those are the
suggest
two
that we-
ideas, I
we,
think.
We'll track our costs as well for that. I wouldn't want somebody just powering up and going.
No, that's true. It's our generator.
Yeah, I would agree with that too, yeah.
Because we have to adjust chemical doses and that kind of stuff when it's shut down. So we want to make sure everything's running correctly when it's going out. So
Yeah. All right. I don't know. I guess from what I'm hearing, let's ask him to reinstate the power or determine how to do it. And
Yeah, especially we have no date. I mean, it sounds like to me that probably, we might get something in January, or February, or,
right. Yeah, that's a concern. I mean, we're talking about 50% or more of our source capacity. And we don't have the Pennichuck reduced rate going.
Right.
That's going to expire, I believe, at the end of the year.
December, we have until December on that.
Yeah, so we're going to still be running into next year with, we don't have the ability to use wells 2 and 9 going into the winter without backup power. Well, 9 we don't, but I don't know. I don't know what to.
It sounds like well 9, you're not gonna get that till the spring, I guess, at least, if that's lagging 4 months after, well 2,
Right.
if you're getting well 2, in 1st of December, that means April 1st, you're getting well 9, so I don't, we just got to keep that in the back of our minds as we're moving forward, where.
So when we do get the VFD, hopefully it comes in, demolishing the well 2 building and all that is something that still can be done during the winter. They're not going to say, oh, no, we got to wait till spring to do that work.
Yeah, I believe that's the only thing as that might affect it is cleaning the well, and they could do that in the winter. Have you done that in the winter, Ron?
Is that Barry doing that?
Barry will be doing it. I don't see why we can't, but I can actually put a call into Barry. I don't recall if we've done it in the winter or not.
The rest of the work is inside the building, so it's, yeah, you can, that's definitely, doable in the winter. And the contractor was estimating roughly a month to do the work in the well 2 building. So once we get the VFD, it's a month of work there. They get the VFD, get that installed, get that connected in the plant. So once we go down, it's about a month, of work, so.
I'm sorry, you saying there was 4 electrical we could go for? There was 4 of them that approved for using our
4 manufacturers?
Yeah,
Yeah, manufacturers, yeah.
I mean, is it something we can ask them to? Where you mentioned that there was some of the other places might be able to get it quicker.
Yeah, I don't know.
Considered doing that?
Yeah, I don't know if, now you could get anything quicker, it's just, that's sort of after I don't know why they chose to go with Eaton, I don't know if it was just cost. I don't know if they have a, relationship with a certain supply house that, uses Eaton. I'm not sure exactly why, but if we decide to all of a sudden change now and go to, say, a square D one, it's gonna take, while to get shop drawings, get those approved and to get that, and then what do you do with the other one? It's not like, it's specifically made for this project. I don't think they could
Oh, okay.
use that, or, for some other.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Pete, could we go with a soft start possibly? For now, until the VFDs come in and then make the switch after? Is that something that we could?
Yeah, I guess there's an option of, whatever we get is gonna be,
And are they a little bit more readily available than a VFD?
yeah, so you could probably get a soft start without, because on this one we have the VFD and there's a bypass soft start on it. So if the VFD actually fails, you could still run your pump on a soft start. So you could probably get just a straight, you might be able to get a straight VFD, or you might be able to get a straight soft start for that, but if you did that, who would pay for that? And, when the project's done, that's, piece of equipment's, not useful anymore, unless you can find somebody else that might, want a used one,
So that the VFD that's spec is actually coming with a soft start in it.
Yeah, it's as a soft start bypass, yeah. That's the same thing you have at 4.5. It's the same type of thing.
What do you recommend we do?
Yeah, and it's just, just finding out this information today, it's, it was concerning to me to hear that, Eaton's are that far out, we have no idea, so I think, I think the idea of getting well 2 functioning again, either, with reestablishing the electrical feed down the road, or, temporarily connecting it up, with the cable that we already have there, I think that's a route to take. I think having running it on a generator for multiple months is not the way to do it,
Yeah. Well, I think you should definitely look into that and
Yeah.
what can be done with that. I don't know what else we can really do.
Yep.
But I'm kind of concerned that if, again, hopefully the contractor is calling and asking these questions on a daily basis or weekly or something, because I'm afraid if he's just kind of nonchalantly following up, then that the next customer who's asking stronger for the same VFD or something is going to be getting it before we are,
Yeah.
or wherever it sits in its in its assembly, where when it's due to be assembled and whatnot. I'm afraid others are going to be prioritized in front of us when sounds like it's pretty dire to us more than in other circumstances.
Yeah, I have no idea what's happening there, and that's we're frustrated with that we're getting no communication from the contractor.
Yeah.
And it's not for lack of us asking. We have asked multiple times, and it doesn't we get the
Right.
same answer as no update, pretty much every time.
Peter, have they tested the generator to see if it will run well too? Has it gone through the paces?
The generator is not on site yet either.
I just wonder, maybe the approach to sort of navigate this would be to say, look, we, at a minimum, in the interim, if the generator is all we got, we should run it and test it too, because we're not even sure that'll all work, do we?
Yeah, the only problem is the generator. It doesn't matter if you have the generator or not. If you don't have the VFD, you need the VFD to power the pump. So the critical component is the VFD.
So unless we have a plan to have a VFD or a soft start or something else in place,
We don't want to do any, if we did any work at the pump station, then we would lose, that supply until the VFD showed up. That's why, getting that electrical feed to the existing building, using all the existing components is probably the way to go because everything works right now. We don't have to do anything. We just got to provide it with electricity.
which is currently not hooked up.
Yeah, which is
Well,
currently.
that was my point. I mean, I'm not saying change anything. I'm just saying, have we brought the generator down to go through the paces to know that we could get the well running tomorrow if we had to?
Yeah, so the generator that we're using is the MVD's portable generator. So the generator that we're gonna have for the project, that's not on site, and they don't know when any updates on when that's gonna get there either.
Right, but I was understanding you to say that portable generator was the interim solution until.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I would also use that as a mechanism. Look, we don't even know if we should test it if we need to know that well's available to us, shouldn't we? And
Oh, it
that might-
is. It's working right now, Ron. I mean, Keith.
All right.
That's how it was. We were actually out there today and the generator was running and powering it. So,
Okay, well, that was my question.
Yeah.
Was it, okay, thank you.
okay, yeah. Yeah, we've been running it on generator for, what is it, 3 weeks, Ron?
Off and on, yeah. It's kind of been intermittent when we need it. Typically, we don't run it over the weekend, and we'll run it on a Monday to bring levels up, that kind of stuff. But yeah, we haven't been running it. Tomorrow, if we don't need it, it probably won't run.
But it's been down there for about 3 weeks, right?
Yes.
Well, let's see if there's some way we can reestablish grid power. So we don't need to run the generator into November, December or further, if that's gonna be the delay for the VFD. Might also wanna run the idea that we might wanna meet with the contractor himself at one of our meetings, either next month or December. So he can explain directly to us what, he should be coming up with the solution. If he disconnected the power and he's dealing with the contractors, this is his issue and he's under contractual obligation to deliver these items. Is there a time frame? I mean, I don't know if we got liquidated damages and all that, if he doesn't meet the time frame, and have we extended all these time frames and all this?
Yeah, so right now, contractually, we're roughly at right now, and I forget the exact date, but I think it was the 14th is substantial completion date. So at this point, he is past that and you are technically into liquidated damages right now.
Right. Now, I don't know how that would hold up if his suppliers aren't capable of supplying.
Well, we don't know if his supplier, because he won't
He
answer
won't
any
answer the
questions.
questions.
So I don't
Right.
think we should jump and give him that out if he's not even giving us information. So as far as I'm concerned, this is 100% on him. If he won't even give us the conversations he's having with his suppliers, well, then it's his fault, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
Yeah, we need evidence or else we're gonna, consider proceeding with liquidated damages if he doesn't give us some evidence that he's hearing back. He's asking the suppliers for one, and what is he hearing back from his suppliers? We need, emails or something we need
I agree.
to confirm what's going on. Then, so that's number one. And number two is, if he took it upon himself to remove the power on his own without first contacting us, then he should be obligated to return that power to us in a reasonable amount of time and pay for the fuel in the interim. Because if you're saying he did this without your knowledge, then how did he didn't really look further down the road and think about what repercussions were going to follow from that decision that make us financially obligated to fuel that generator and have our staff out there in the middle of the winter, which is no one would have said, yeah, let's do that for the next 4 months. That just doesn't make sense in the middle of winter. So those are the two concerns that I think we have. So if you can relay those to him, and if he wants to discuss with you and you relay it to us, fine. But if he wants to come here and meet with us, that's something else. We wouldn't. We'd kind of like that opportunity to maybe discuss it with him in person and find out as well, to kind of take you out of the middle. But
Yeah.
whatever whatever he feels best, if he wants to just go through you as he's doing now and you feel okay about that, that's fine, but I think we need some kind of, we need this addressed, not just floundering around like it seems like it is, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on that issue?
No, cover that.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so that's just one question I had. Well, 9, we still haven't seen a permit on that from DES, right? At this point that you've seen?
I haven't seen
I
it.
know that's more of a question for Jamie, but I didn't know if you guys had seen it.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that treatment plan or anything, or?
Nope. I think
Okay.
besides that, facility's looking good, obviously carbon deliveries being delayed till we get the pump station online.
We can run water through it, right?
Yeah, because you don't want to put any carbon in it because you gotta slurry it in there. So then it's gonna be all wet, and you don't want, you don't want it just sitting in water because then bacteria will grow on it. So that's all getting, pushed off until we know when the VFD is coming. So then we know when we can do the work at the pump station, and then we can schedule the carbon delivery. So,
So this might be an issue if it's kind of delaying all that work. This is pushing us out well into next year then at this point.
yeah, I think if we gave the contractor the go ahead today to get into the well 2 at the last meeting, he gave us a schedule, and that was at the September meeting, that he would be online. I think, was it Ron, like the first week of January or something? Second week of January?
Believe so, yeah.
And that, so it included doing the work at the well 2, getting the carbon in there, getting things started up, testing the, SCADA system and all that, and that type of stuff. So, and doing all the PFAS testing and that type of thing. So that's what he was estimating at that point. So, and I think that was included getting into well 2, I believe, right after Columbus Day. So last week, I believe that's what the schedule said.
Is there any more ground excavation and, I'm assuming it hasn't been loamed and seeded or anything yet either, or?
It has been loamed, though. So he took the whatever he stripped off and screened that a little bit and spread that out. Now he's going to top it with some screened loam, and I believe on Friday he's going to hydro seed that. So
Yeah.
that will be done, and then they're fine grading this week, and they were looking to pave next week, but that might get pushed off into the first week of November. So then at that point, your outside work is, I don't want to say done, but your majority of it is done,
Well, he's probably gonna have to come back and replace the ruts and the rills and the hydro seed. That's because we're not growing grass now. So that's done till
Yeah.
spring.
Yeah.
So that's gonna have some washouts on that, But again, that's all stuff that should have been done in the regular growing season, and for various delays, it apparently
Yeah.
wasn't. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to remind you to also ask him for when the orders for the VFDs were first placed.
And I'll ask him, just for,
Right.
that I have that down there and I'll do and along with that, I'll do a quick summary of the dates of the shop drawings coming through.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure he understands the direness, if that's a word, of the situation,
Yeah.
That if we don't have these wells up and running by springtime, we're going to be in deep trouble. It's 50% of our source. So.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's move on.
Okay, so 4-5, we're still planning on, doing a carbon change out on that. Ron, have you been in touch with the vocal on that, on the exact dates and stuff? I know you've been talking with Lynette about that.
I haven't, I mean, I know it's been back and forth with Lynette, and Brian and Lynette, and,
Yeah.
and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but Marcus. I can follow up with that.
So who's has the ball? Are we waiting for them? Are they waiting for us?
Yeah, I was hoping to check with Lynette, and she wasn't in the office today, so I'm not positive on that status right now. Keith, do you know anything?
I just talked to Lynette briefly and she said there's the pricing came in. I think it's just ready to order. There was a couple loose ends to tie up, but it sounded like we're in the position to place the order very soon.
I think we're waiting on, if memory serves me correct, they needed some additional information on the stuff we'd sent in. And they get that, so I think we're waiting on, the sample results back to Avoca in order to start the change out. I think that's still in process.
Yeah.
Plot in my mind, I know it's not that pilot test, but whatever. That canister that we emptied out and sent in, I know we're waiting on
Right.
results
Yeah.
from that.
This will be covered by the agreement with St. Cobain.
Profile.
Yeah.
So
So
what is it? $100,000 a year is coming in from St. Cobain to cover operations on 4 or 5.
Yep.
yeah, for the first,
5 years, I think.
yeah, right. If it lasts that long. What's it gonna say? Yeah, so after they remove the carbon, then they rejuvenate it basically, and then they return it.
They incinerate it, yeah. So, yeah.
So we're basically, for that period, how long does that process, are they telling you? Do you remember off the top of your head? By the time they remove it and then it's ready to replace again?
I believe it wasn't that 3 or 4 weeks, Ron. I believe that's what the time frame was.
I think that's what's in the email. I thought, I was actually thinking it was like a 2 or 3 week turnaround, but yeah.
And is this something they can do in the winter as well if we got cold weather coming, or is that gonna?
Yeah, the only thing is, yeah, you can do that. The only thing is, and when we ran into this a little bit with the with 7 and 8 is because you have to, fill that tanker full of water to, to slurry it in, and it just gets, when you're doing it in the dead of winter, it's tough. I think because we were doing that in January, for 7, 8, and it happened to be in January during a cold week, so if we're going to be doing this, if we're going to be placing this order, in the short term, this is going to get done before Thanksgiving, then you probably should be, I think weather is not going to be an issue with that.
You're talking about replacing before Thanksgiving or just removing?
Yeah, so they would have, they would, yeah, I gotta double check the timing of that. Yeah, they would have to come out and obviously, grab the GAC, bring it back, incinerate it, and then, bring it back to the plant. So,
Right.
yeah. But even if I think if that drags into December, I don't think you're, unless we have a, sort of one of those deep freeze winters that we have, I think, that, if you're gonna get it into the November or December, timeframe, I think you should be good,
Right.
But we don't want to be dallying too long, I guess, on that to make sure we get going on it.
No, because I think in these graphs, I think we're already broke through maybe the 50% port on the lag vessel for PFOA. So, we're probably gonna break through PFOA through that lag vessel at some point before the lag vessel turns into the lead vessel, And I know it should be under 12, but again, we were trying to get this so that we didn't have any PFOA breakthrough into the finished water if possible. So, and once we remove the lead vessel, then we're gonna get all the raw waters going directly into the lag vessel. So we're gonna be loading the lag vessel with 50, 60 parts per trillion as opposed to less than half of that, which is coming in now because it's already being removed in the lead vessel, you know?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be higher loading on that lag vessel. So we're gonna exacerbate the breakthrough even faster while the media is being reconstituted from the lead vessel. So there's a lot of things to think about with that as well.
Yeah.
So, all right. What was the other thing? Oh, what is the situation on well 5? Is that pump still out of service?
Still out of service. I will need to follow up on that. I believe it's been ordered. And if it's anything like 4, I want to say that was a week or so out. So a week or 2 to get it here.
Yeah.
And it was the same manufacturer as it's coming out of Texas, I believe.
Georgia.
Was it Georgia?
Already told me Georgia today that it's on order, it's in stock, so it's just travel time.
Oh, is it? All right. It's good to hear. I think I was,
As long as it doesn't have any bridges.
yeah. As long as there are no bridges in the way.
Come on.
And no 6-month lead time. Okay. All right. All right. Anything else on wells 4 or 5?
No,
Okay. What's next? Well, 7 and 8?
sorry, just write down a note. Yeah, so 7 and 8, we're trying to straighten out that last issue with the maintenance bond. And we thought we had a solution to that, but now contractor does not want to have that. So I'll go through sort of the scenario. We were looking at a 5-year maintenance bond for that. Then Avoca said we cannot do a 5-year maintenance bond. So they said we can do a 2-year maintenance bond that we renew every year, you know, and then so we passed that to the town attorney, or district attorney. And Greg said, well, you know, if you accept that, you're not really holding them to anything. Because if they give you the 2-year maintenance bond, they can just say, well, we're not going to give you the 1-year ones, you know. So he said you probably want to have something to hold it to them. So we ultimately came up with a solution. We went through a lot of different options. We thought the easiest one would say, okay, we'll accept that offer, but if you do not follow through with giving us the 1-year bonds, then you have to pay for our attorney's fees to litigate that, to get them, you know. And it seemed pretty straightforward, because if they're, you know, generally, you know, planning on giving those to us, then they should agree to pay the attorney's fees if they don't, you know. So
Right.
that all
It's
seemed
all
like,
in it's in their control, basically.
right. So that all seemed like, oh, great, okay, that, you know, we figured a way to do that. But then that still ties the contractor, you know, to it, you know, so he does not like that. So he wanted to have a separate agreement between Avoca and the district and not have him be tied into the middle of it.
And if Volco's not willing to do that, or is that
No, I
not?
think they are, and then that's where we're at right now. You know, we're
Okay.
trying to, yeah. So it seems, you know, this 5-year maintenance bond's been a chore to get.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that's the, you know, it seems like that's the route. Now we're working, you know, with Greg, you know, the district attorney, you know, on and making sure that all that stuff, you know, is to the acceptance of him and protects you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I think that would be better. Just go directly with Avoca if that's possible.
Mm.
At least that way there's not a middleman in there that we gotta kind of, it's another party into the mix, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
We're still building up pressure on that lead vessel and everything. We're monitoring that.
That vessel, yeah, continues to ramp up pressure and we, so it's about every, what, 5 to 6 weeks, I believe. I think it's 42 days, so.
So we're probably due for another backwash out there at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but other than that, it's, everything is running well out there, Ron, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you wanted to mention that, I guess, Avoca wanted to take down the pilot columns that they had in place, and I think we're gonna try to use them still to figure out, we need to figure out what's causing the pressure. So if there's some sort of a growth or something, maybe we can replicate it through that. We're not seeing anything now, but
Yeah, so it hasn't been any further developments on what that particular restriction comes from or anything other than?
No, we don't know that. And so their original pilot columns were set up. So we could, so we could test, they had some, GAC that was supposedly from the same lot that we got ours from. And, we were hoping to be testing that and seeing some iron coming through that, and we saw nothing. So, it's, yeah,
Right.
I'm up, yeah, so that didn't give us any information, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on wells 7 and 8, or what's the next thing you're doing out there? Just follow up on those issues? Is nothing else?
Yeah, then the last thing is just, we were looking to hook up an iron analyzer, and the district ordered that in, was it February or March, and it still hasn't come in yet. So that's, that's gonna get hooked up, so,
That's incredible.
yeah. And we still don't have a delivery on that, correct, Ron?
I need to check with Brian. I and then the impression it came in.
Oh, did it? Well, that's great.
Breakaway.
It's the break, but I thought the analyzer came in. We're just waiting on our 3 agents. But let me verify that.
Okay,
All right. Anybody else have any questions or anything on that? So I guess the last item is the Pennichuck Wholesale Water Purchase Agreement, right?
Yeah, and I have a little bit on that, Dawn, if you're ready.
Yeah, sure.
And based on the work session that we had with you and our recommendations that go back to our engineering supply update this summer, we're pushing to advance an agreement with Pennichuck for a wholesale arrangement at Route 101A. And that meeting that we had on, what was it? It was on October 4th, just not that long ago, 2 weeks, I guess. Pennichuck agreed to put the agreement together, which they did. I think it's in your packet. There's a draft agreement there.
It is.
The goal has been to try to get this in place by June, so you are ready. So it's ready to be available to you on your heavier use seasons. If you back it up, we really need to get this agreement into PUC by the end of October. So we've skimmed through it, and I'll give you kind of a quick breakdown of the meat of it, and then we really ought to get it in for a legal review if you'd like. But it's the way we've asked them to set it up. It's a 3-year agreement with 1-year renewals. So you can stop at 3 years, or you can continue to renew on an annual basis after that until you're ready to stop. The concept here was that we would have this thing in place really as a short-term stopgap solution until we solve or finish our in-town water supply options, AR or Mitchell Woods, for example. So that's the way the term's set up. Right now it's set up with a guaranteed take of 250,000 gallons per day on an annual average. So after a 12-month window, if you haven't, you're going to be billed on a monthly basis for 250,000 gallons a day. And so the intent would be that we'd use it because you don't want to be using less than that. The way they do it, it's kind of like some cell phone programs. If you don't use your 250,000 gallons a day so much in the winter when you don't need it, you can reserve it for your summer uses. So we can use more water in the summer and less in the winter, which is ideal for us. But it is also the way it's set up right now. It's a maximum day demand of 0.5 or 500,000 gallons a day. So that's what we're paying for, is a guaranteed availability of 500,000 gallons a day. The fixed charge is 184,000 gallons a day. So that a year, sorry, 140,000 dollars. Yeah, dollars. Thank you. Dollars a year. And then there's a volumetric rate on top of that. We gave you a spreadsheet that I hopefully is in your packet. If not, I can share it with you, that shows you on what you use up to 500,000 gallons a day, what it will cost you. And if I can, I'll just share it to make sure you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, if you could, because I don't think we have that.
I might need permission. I do need permission.
All set, Keith.
Thank you. Can you see it? Yeah. Okay. So what you see here is a spreadsheet based on a contract of 250,000 gallons a day. I can blow this up a little bit if it helps. I'm not sure how small that is to you.
Yeah, if you could, it would help.
So option one, the way the contract's set up right now is you have a guaranteed usage of 250,000 gallons a day, but you have a reserved capacity of 500,000 gallons a day. So it really says you can't, and a maximum day of 500,000 gallons. And with that, we've calculated the annual average consumption. So if you only used, if you didn't use it at all, you're still going to be charged $299,000. So you're committing to a $300,000 a year to do this but for that same 300,000, right? It's the same number all the way up to 250,000 gallons a day on average. So you're really saying I'm going to use this water at least 250,000 gallons a day on average. If you go up above that, we've also calculated it. So between 300,000 and 500,000 gallons a day, it goes, it increases. And if you use it 500,000 gallons a day every day for 365 days, it's 414,000. So that's the rate. That's the way the contract is set up. The important numbers here are the guaranteed take, which you're committing to taking 250,000 gallons a day or being charged for it. And the capacity that they will guarantee for you is up to 500,000 gallons a day. The way the contract is also set up, or the arrangement is also set up, that if there is an emergency, like a fire flow, and the water's available, and the pumps can pump 1,000,000 gallons a day, you'll get it. It'll be there for you, but they're not guaranteeing it. And that's really the way it's set up today. So the real big difference is this water's there for you. They have to do things in their side of things to make it happen. I did say the target was to get it online in June. You're going to need an annual meeting to enter into this contract because it's a multi-year contract. This is a 3-year contract. And I think we ought to get, we could get a legal review if you can get somebody to look at this, but in order to get it ready by June, Pennichuck is telling us we have to get it into the PUC in the next 2 weeks, especially going into the holidays. So the action I need from you guys tonight really is if you concur with the design flows that we've talked about here, and if you are prepared to have it reviewed so we can get it into the PUC by the end of the month. And Pennichuck's been very, quick to respond. So any comments or questions, they don't seem to be holding things up. And they tell me this is a standard agreement that they've been using for other communities where they've had wholesale arrangements as well.
All right, so I was kind of looking at this and I had a few things that, what stuck out to me is they're saying here they're going to limit the connection point to 347 gallons per minute. So
500,000 gallons a day. They're not, well, maybe we can wordsmith that a little bit. I'm just going to let the dog out. Sorry.
let's see here.
That's the words he used as the intent. Flows over 500,000 gallons a day, 347, Don, gallons a minute, are not guaranteed and only provided in an emergency if available. The pump station that you have down there is designed to pump 700 gallons a minute. So what they're saying is we're only guaranteeing 500,000 gallons a day, but if it's available, we will on an emergency basis deliver more.
All right, so the other question I had was how does our the water wheeling agreement we have with them factor into this? It doesn't mention that anywhere in here, but we're still obligated to supply water to their Cabot Preserve customer. So should that be additional water available to us on top of the water available in this agreement?
Yeah.
Because I think we got to factor that in somehow. I don't know how that plays into this.
No, that's a good point, and that's come up before. So I will ask him about that, so that if it's 500,000 gallons a day plus the water you're providing to them on the other end.
And then when they say that they wouldn't be able to provide us with that, the additional water during a time of impaired, if the system is impaired, their system is impaired, there's an impaired event, I think is what they called it. Would they put their core system into irrigation bans during that time, or would they just continue to irrigate but not supply us the water that we're contracted to take from them?
Yeah, I picked up on that one too. I made a margin note there. I didn't feel like they captured previous conversations we had. They do put some words in there. They're going to give you favorable treatment as to other wholesale water supply customers. But what I was looking for was proportional treatment. If we have to go down by 20%, shouldn't they? So I'm going to ask them about that one as well.
Right. What I'll do is I'll email these comments I have in the agreement, because I kind of like to get answers to this. But in the meantime, I still think we want to have it. So what's the next step we would do is to have our legal review this?
Yep.
And who's that, Bernstein Sure, or is that the other one? Drummond Winsome?
Would they be able to get it done in 2 weeks?
I don't know.
Assuming.
Send it out tomorrow.
How about if I email this, who would send it to Drummond Winsome? Would that be Underwood?
I think it would come from you guys to them.
Because there's still some questions I have here, and I don't, I would like to know at least answers to these if the contract needs to be amended. So maybe we could give this to the legal contact or legal attorney and have them determine if the contract needs to have some language modifications or not.
And it sounds like Pennichuck's willing to work with it, so.
It does. I just want to make sure what we're signing on to is what we,
They should be able to give us fast reply to our questions.
I would hope.
Yeah, Don, he's been very responsive. Don Ware has, so he knows I'm meeting with you tonight. So if you gave me a list of questions, I'd be happy to get them to them to get answers and tell him, you know, we're still doing an internal review, including checking it with legal. So
right.
I think that's fine.
All
Want to
right,
send them to me, I'll include yours with what's going to.
Yeah.
all right. So I'll just send everything to you, my comments in here, and then,
Me and Keith and then.
You- okay.
Deal with Pennichuck and I'll take care of the legal.
all right, that sounds good. But yeah, so those are really the main questions I had. There was a couple other things, how they were calculating things in here that I had questions on, so hopefully those will be simple answers.
Yeah.
Uh,
The only,
Right.
and the only other thing I'll add is that wasn't covered in here, and I asked him, is they want a SCADA interconnect. So that the only reason they want to have the SCADA interconnects is they can monitor the flows remotely. Right now, they have to read the meter manually. So we just have to have that done. That would be, that's, as far as I know, that's the only capital cost on the Merrimack side to make this happen.
And
Which I
Keith, we
think that
do
was-
have an RTU getting installed there. Yeah, so that's going back to the MVD office, yeah.
So it should be pretty easy, but that's just one thing that wasn't covered in there, but I knew that they wanted it.
Yeah, I
So-
was gonna say, I think that was what we were expecting them.
So they're asking for a SCADA connection?
Just for the meter.
What cost is that?
So does that mean they can go in, and just shut our pump off or
We
something?
may have to run that through our block 5, yeah.
Just the meter. They can't control anything. They just want to read. They just want to have the data, the flow data.
I thought we spoke about that before, that it would just, it's not actuatable. They just want to be able to read it remotely.
Yeah.
Would they
Yeah.
accept, Keith, just input every day of how much they took, the prior day or something like that?
I don't know.
Or do
We'll
they
have to-
want real time?
I think they might want real time, kind of consistent with some of their other major stations, but we'll have to do a little bit more to find out exactly what they want and how to make it happen.
I mean, they could do the same thing with a remote reader on their meter. If they, their endpoint can send them data as well if they have that kind of a system without hacking into their, I won't say hacking, without being part of our SCADA system.
Yeah. What did he?
We still want SCADA in there for us to be able to
Right, it just,
modulate the flow and all that, but can we give them only access to read the meter reading and not be able to, manipulate the pumps and stuff, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
that definitely would be something we would do, but I think
so,
still
yeah.
want to talk to block 5 to see how that, it's still somebody else accessing.
Yeah, it's a whole nother platform that's connected to us and everything.
Or they could just keep sending a guy out there to read the meter. It's a simple fix right there.
It's probably
It's a 10-minute job.
15 Pennichuck cars going by
Yeah.
Pennichuck Square every day.
Take a quick stop.
He does say in his email to me so that we can monitor the rate and have data. So he wants the rate. So that sounds like an instantaneous read, and the daily and monthly totals. That's all he's looking for.
I think that's possible to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we're still talking about installing a full-blown SCADA just for our own use in there, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I would think a piece of that would be the flow meter reading,
A view only. Yeah.
right? Just a read-only type of configuration.
Okay.
All right. Anything else here that stands out? I don't know if you guys have any questions on it or anything. So I guess with that, we can move on unless you have anything more on that.
Only I know Dawn's been in front of you for a while, and maybe it'll depend on the review. If the comments are minor, then we can just keep this thing moving. But I'm sure they'd be happy to come in if you'd like, but I'd leave that up to you. I think we've spent a little bit of time with them, and then Ron, Jill, and myself met with Larry and Dawn not too long ago to go through some of this too. But I'm just laying that up. I'm just offering that at some point. The only other detail, and I think it's a detail, but they made a point that this is a joint request. So when we go to PUC, it's not Pennichuck asking for this. It's Merrimack jointly asking for it with Pennichuck. And their feeling is that that's a quicker process. And it makes sense to me if PUC sees both communities saying, yeah, we're in this together and we're working together, then they see it as a joint application. It tends to go quicker.
That's not a hook to hook us into paying for some cost of that or something.
He just said it's,
I don't trust anybody anymore.
yeah. So he said it's a better process. I don't understand the differences, Don, but I think he said maybe Hudson or Milford did it that way, I think, with them. But it sounded appropriate. I'm just mentioning it because he made a point to mention it to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're both in favor of it, so I guess jointly it makes sense.
I mean, we're present for the temporary contract as well, so.
Okay. All right.
All right, just to keep this moving, that's all. And so let's get, whatever questions you got and whatever legal review you can as quick as possible, just so we want to make sure it's ready for you in June. And you have to gear up for annual meeting. You'll have to put a warrant article on this.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let me see if there's anything else here. I guess we're good. I was gonna see if you guys want to stick around for the action items, but we've got other business to take care of. So, so I think we're good at this point. Unless you guys have any questions.
Nope, but if we have anything on the action items, have Jill or Ron send it over and we'll stay on them.
All right, that sounds good. Great.
All right.
Thanks, you
Thanks, guys. All right. Have a good night. Bye.
All right. So I guess now we can have the discussion with the group that's here from the public. Ben Niles, is that your name? Thanks.
This is what the engulfed flames looked like that was printed in paper. I was sitting in my house and I heard a loud boom. And my wife says, someone sent on firecrackers. I said, no, that's not a firecracker. It's a big, loud boom. I looked out my side door and I didn't see anything. I heard a second boom. I looked out my back deck door and all I saw was a wall of flames shining. I live 2 houses away by the Profly, or 3 houses on the street, and just massive wall of fire. And I was just shocked. I was stunned on it. So what I want to do is just raise some questions. I've had discussions with the fire chief, and we're concerned about the hydrant. I think it's 106 on Forest Drive. It's very hard. The hydrant's been painted over so many times. It's very hard to read anything that's embossed in the metal in the hydrant. But I think there's a 106 in black paint on the hydrant. So I'll call it 106 and hopefully I'm right. But the residents of Woodland Park are very concerned about the failure of the hydrant. There's a delay in the water supply for the Merrimack Fire Department to fight the house fire. Although I don't think in talking to the chief, the delay was, I don't know whether it's 4 or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Some people in the neighborhood think it was 20 minutes, but they did run a hose to the hydrant on Joppa, and they run another hose to a hydrant on Office Hartwood. So they did eventually get 2 hoses on the fire. And fortunately, all 6 residents of the house were able to leave the house, and none of them were injured. So thank God for that. However, the house was a total loss because there's not only the fire, the flames, but it's also the heat and smoke that does extensive damage throughout the parts of the house that didn't burn.
Is this your personal house?
So this is my.
Oh, okay. All right.
So the questions I have is Fire Chief DeFanzio said that the hydrant was serviced by Merrimack Girls District on 6/17 of 2022. And after investigating the incident, neither Merrimack Fire Department nor Merrimack Village District could pinpoint the cause of the failure of the hydrant, why it didn't produce water. So that's concerning, because if the hydrant was serviced 3 months prior, why didn't it work? You simply put a wrench on the top nut and you just open it up, and that opens a valve in the bottom and the water comes gushing out. It's not that complex. It's unfortunate that, neither party could identify the cause of it. That has many residents in Woodland Park concerned, and I think a lot of the hydrants in Woodland Park are old. So it could have been a problem with the water line, I don't know, I mean, there was no other reports of water failure in households, but I'm not an expert in hydrants, but there's a reason it didn't work, and it's very puzzling. Question I have is, how old is the hydrant on Forest Drive, 106? How old is it? Is it time to replace the hydrant? If it failed, you replace it, just like if your engine has failed, you replace parts or all of it in your car. And what's the expected life of the hydrant? Woodland Park was built in the 60s, the early and late 60s. So Woodland Park is 50, 60 years old, the houses. So if the hydrants are put in then, and they're the original hydrants, to me, they're ready for retirement. They're ready for the old folks home. And another question is, what's the make and model of the hydrant in question? I'd like to know that. Now, I don't expect you to have all these answers, but maybe someone can get back to me. My email's at the bottom with some of this information. What is the MVD policy on hydrant maintenance? I read about flushing, but is it an annual flushing, which I don't think. How many years, every years, is it every 3 years, every 5 years? What's the policy around flushing the hydrants throughout the town of Merrimack? That'd be good to know. And then what's the policy about replacing hydrants? Hydrants are too critical to only replace them after they've failed. All machinery has an expected reliable lifespan. And when it approaches the end of that, it needs to be replaced. It's pure and simple. And especially in terms of fire hydrants that protect the businesses and residents in town. So we're very concerned about the functioning reliability of the hydrants serving our neighborhood. And hopefully your answers to these questions will restore our confidence in the hydrant system in Woodland Park.
Yeah, so we were aware of the issue with the lack of water reported by the fire department. And I know you could probably explain about the field visit that you did the following day with the.
So we went out the following day, which was around 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the afternoon or in the morning.
First shut off the water.
Okay, yes, that is true. Yeah, Jake went out first thing in the morning and shut the water off to the property. Flowed the hydrant. It was fine.
And who was present for that?
I
Just the
believe
field tech.
just the field tech, and I believe there was some residents were there. Then we went back. Once I had heard about it, I instructed Brian, our operations manager, to be in touch with fire and go out and perform a fire flow test, see what's actually going on with that hydrant. And it performed and it worked fine. It was nothing with it. So it was 79 PSI, I believe, on the hydrant, and it was over 1,200 gallons a minute for the 2.5-inch port. I don't know what's available at 20 PSI, which would have been the fire flow, but we would have to have gauged another hydrant, record the drop, but my guess would be it would be in probably the 2,000 gallon range a minute, available at 20.
So it was 79 PSI and how many gallons a minute?
It was over 1,200 gallons a minute.
And did somebody from the fire department witness that? And did they
Assistant chief
issue
was
a
there.
statement, email confirming what they saw in any?
I have an email from Brian stating what was said at the scene. The fire chief, the assistant chief, observed everything we did. He said there is more than enough water at this hydrant. It is working perfectly fine. He did not need to see any additional tests at that time.
So you had two separate looks at the hydrant. You had someone come out and basically perform some kind of maintenance or something on it. And then you had the chief come out and you showed him the flow and the pressure.
There was no maintenance done to the hydrant that morning. He came out like he normally would do. He'd shut the residents down, the water off, the domestic water to the home. And he just opened up the hydrant to see if it actually worked, and it was flowing water. He then shut it down, we went back at 10 o'clock
With the fire department?
with the fire department and actually took a pressure and flowed that hydrant
So
again.
there were basically two visits to the hydrant.
The following,
Right.
that morning, twice that morning.
Yes, it makes sense. You have to disconnect the house.
Yep.
I was a little concerned and a little upset because I was picking up my grandchildren on Pine Tree, driving back, and I saw two gentlemen in the Merrimack Village District at Hartwood and Woodland Fire Hydrant. So I stopped and I said, do you know that there was a fire down here and the hydrant wasn't working? He said, yeah, we know all about it. And I said, okay, fine, but that's concerning that the fire, it did not work. He said they didn't know what they were doing. And that bothered me because basically you're telling me that the fireman didn't know what he was doing, which kind of made me think that that's not true, but I just didn't like their whole attitude about it.
We did address that.
So that was a little upsetting to me.
No, that shouldn't have been said.
Yes,
I
I agree.
It talked, actually not just that person, but we talked to the entire staff. How you would address something to like that.
Yeah, it seemed like very insensitive.
Well, just to follow up that remark, I spoke to the chief and I asked him, was it one of your men or the Nashville Fire or Manchester Fire that was working the hydrant? He says, one of my men. And I said, I assume he wasn't a rookie. He says, no. He says, one of my very experienced firefighters knows what he's doing. And I think it completely rules out human error. It's the cost. So,
Well, it's kind of unexplained how it worked the
Yeah.
following day, both times.
Without
That's why I think the conclusion is there's no resolution to this that I can
well, I
see.
understand that. And that is what's troubling to me as a
It's
resident.
troubling to me too.
Yeah, it's, and the thing is that with our roads are really bad, but could our water lines being that such an old neighborhood, could there be something that could have been like a blockage there or something that happened between the time it was tested or whatever, that, that was another thing that we had thought of too.
I would say no, only because it was actually flowed at two different points. So there was another hydrant within the project, within the development that was utilized as well.
Okay.
And they didn't experience any lack of water. So I would, and it performed fine the next day. So I don't know what happened either, but
So at this fire, the two fire hydrants were being used. That's what you're saying? Okay. First off, I'm very sorry for the loss of your home. I'm glad that your family made it safe.
Yeah, that's catastrophic, I'm sure.
It's, I think it was for the whole neighborhood, just the fact that they weren't able to get water out of that hydrant. And it delayed things and running hoses down two other hydrants, trying to get water. It was a nightmare, especially for them.
Does the village ever replace hydrants?
We do.
We do. For what reason?
So it could be, if obviously during our maintenance, if there was something that found to be where wind flow, it'd either be, if there's availability of parts, repair it or replace. During those visits, we do check the operation and, how well they open and, we can add oils to the bonnet or grease fittings and just for operating them easier. We just replaced one, I want to say earlier this summer. 63. That was that hydrant was operating fine, but it was low. And it was actually a hydrant that didn't have it was a solid barrel, meaning it didn't have a breakaway or anything like that. So or a traffic kit in it, that if it got hit, the hydrant would just be broken. So a lot of the hydrants, I believe in the neighborhood or what we put in now, have a traffic kit on them. So if they get run into, we can put a new flange in, repair that hydrant so it's back in service quicker.
So, and I understand someone was telling me that it's in construction, but in Nashua, they have a 25-year where the hydrants have to be replaced after 25 years. Does Merrimack have anything like that?
No, and I'm not 100% on that.
I just,
Not that I-
contracting, they were telling me that.
I would need to verify that with Pennichuck Water. I don't think that's the case. I think there's a lot of hydrants that are probably the same year, if not older, in Nashua as well.
And which is the reason why we test them to make sure that they still work. And I don't know what the frequency on testing is, if you
That was my
can comment on that
It's
at all.
it's an ongoing program, so actually every hydrant in that neighborhood was serviced
June
June
17th.
17th. So how many did we do last year?
So our total was, we did preventative maintenance in 2022, 293 hydrants, painted 142, inspected 7, repaired lower, the upper replaced. So total is 456 hydrants that we put our hands on this year, which is roughly half of how many are in the town.
Do we have the number correct on the hydrant?
I believe-
106.
Yeah.
Yes.
106, yeah, okay.
And that, the fire, whoever was there from the fire department must have said, yeah, that was the hydrant that didn't work yesterday, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, we knew that was on.
Rent Street across the street.
Yeah.
Which is the reason they went to that one first, obviously, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Wow.
yeah. Well, before the night was out, we had the Manchester Fire Department, and they came down and connected up hoses and basically finished with the fire.
Thank goodness they have 1,000-foot hoses because one of the hydrants was over 900 feet.
It's quite the show.
Sure it
Sadly,
was.
it's a terrible situation.
Right. So do you want to take this email and
Yep.
prepare some responses to that, or?
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
That would be most welcome.
Send it to me, I will share it with a number of the concerned residents.
Right.
We don't want to bring everybody.
Yeah.
Can I ask for you folks to put your name and your address in here just for our minutes?
Sure.
Yeah, hopefully I don't know if there's a way we can figure out what happened out there. It seems like an anomaly that it worked fine the following day. We're not aware of any pressure issues in the system that occurred at the time that the fire happened.
I mean, I can go that one step for, I can tell you tank heights, time,
Right.
For it to be a system issue though, for the next hydrant to work.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, because if it was a system problem, it would have been, the whole area would have been low on pressure or something. Probably even your houses, you wouldn't have water if that was, I mean, literally, did they say nothing came out of the hydrant, or just it wasn't full pressure
my
that they
understanding was it
expected?
was a pressure and flow issue. They didn't.
So they must have got some water, but not enough.
Some, or,
They were hooked up to it. I saw there was no water coming out of it. Nothing. There was kind of
Really?
standing around trying to figure it out. nothing.
The heck?
And I'm going in with extinguishers, using a tanker truck later on. But when they first got there, they first tried to hook up, the hose was just flat. Nothing. Absolutely.
It took a while.
And not that I want to point fingers either. I don't know the process as far as with fire, what they hook up, what their equipment what they're looking at either. So that's something I need to do is get with them and kind of understand what they do when they hook onto a hydrant. And from my mind,
Right. All right,
Which is something maybe, right, to give the residents a little peace of mind, maybe do a little more frequent checks.
we can do that. I could even do some fire flows in the neighborhood. We want to do some ISO stuff anyways, so we need to get some, well, even with Underwood, we want to get some pressures for our new model, distribution system model, so we can certainly do some fire flows in the neighborhood and record those.
would you want to reach out to the fire department and see if they want to accompany you guys if you do some
Oh, no,
hydrant
absolutely.
flow tests
No,
and have them open the hydrants and everybody can see what the process is and
And maybe even
What
have it like
happens?
act like a, hooking
right,
up the hose.
what would be
the
the first step when you get on the scene? How do you?
Yeah.
Because I'm not familiar exactly with what they do either, you know?
whole- Yeah,
That was one of the things I'd like to, when they're doing some training, is pop in and kind of see how they do it, just my end.
I mean, if we ever experience an issue where, and here's a question for our team, because we go out and test fire flow hydrants all the time and they're flushing. Is there ever a time when we turn that nut, nothing happens? And then we shut it and turn it again and it opens, I don't know. I'm trying to see if this anomaly has ever occurred
Not that I'm
before.
aware of. And
Is this truly an anomaly or what?
the thing with the hydrant, it opens under pressure. So even if
If that
if
opens,
it wasn't connected to that bottom
Plate.
stop, when you went to close it, it wouldn't have shut down. We would have used the main valve to shut that hydrant down. So, you know what I mean? Like a stuck stop.
If it was disconnected from the plate at the bottom.
that's what I'm wondering, is
It
that
would have opened.
is a rod that goes down,
Right.
well, obviously it wasn't broken if it opened the next day, that I'm trying to
Exactly.
figure out.
That's kind of where I'm going with it. There was nothing disconnected there. I didn't go operate the hydrant myself. But I'm being told it operates smoothly. It wasn't because there are some out there, not that it's a hard, but it's the whole way. It's not just a couple quick turns and then it gets hard, but
It takes a lot of effort to crank the shaft.
some can, yeah.
And what's running through my mind is that maybe some freak piece of junk got into the shaft fittings and jammed it. And if no human error at all, it's just something that comes.
Anything's, but I would have thought we would have seen that when we floated, that would have come out of the hydrant. So that's the other end of kind of,
Can we look in the body of
we'd have to take the hydrant apart, but we certainly can, yeah.
just to make sure there
Well, I
isn't
guess we
something
could-
like
We
that?
could probably camera or something, but we could take the 4.5-inch port off and
Oh, yeah.
kind of look down in. We could do some,
I think if that's possible, at least that's a start to rule out something
Some freak like that.
gross like
You
that.
just don't know.
Right.
I mean, it's been sitting there for a long time. Something could have happened. Or the last few days or something.
Yeah, I have no idea how something would get in there, but
Maybe a moose ran into it, you don't know.
Could be your goose.
I mean, I feel bad. There's a level of confidence here that you're really concerned about and, we are too, that you feel that way.
I
And
just feel bad for keeping us.
Absolutely,
We're out of
it's-
a home now.
It's a real shock, as I said to my wife, every night when we go to bed, We put our head down. We're not thinking about fire hydrants. We know we got a fire department. If subject ever came up. Fire hydrants are not high tech. We've been using them for a long time.
Yep, yeah.
When I heard that the water came out of a fire hydrant and it's not in the dead of winter, frozen water in the pipes. What is going on?
And then it worked at the next hydrant, so.
And then it works the next time. So maybe the,
So it doesn't leak like, doesn't seem like a system problem, you know, a
It doesn't.
distribution system, pressure flow issue.
obviously you got water coming through.
Maybe we just, if we could take a closer look in that hydrant and see if there's something in there that could have caused the seat not to release when the nut was turned on top somehow, if that's even possible, I don't know.
It's a lot of pressure, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't make
A lot
sense.
of pressure under there for it not release the seat if it was
Nobody on-
disconnected.
nobody on the streets have problems with their water pressure, have they?
No. Is it the same water as the drinking water?
It is.
Yeah.
That's right off the, yeah.
So that's what I mean, if it was to the point where you open a hydrant and nothing came out, you probably wouldn't have water in your houses, because
Yeah.
it's the same system.
Okay, so it's the same system.
Yeah, absolutely. Right,
That's assuming the
Yes, it
valve
is.
worked correctly.
yeah.
It's secured to the plate correctly.
So if we can look at that closer inside, maybe, and, you know,
I have a question about the water lines. I mean, did they ever get replaced or have to get replaced, or is it just when there's a sinkhole or something like that? Because I know the corner of Forest and Joppa, there was an issue they had to work on. Is it only when they get something like that, when they redo a road or something?
So we do look at all of that stuff. It is in our CIP. Typically, I want to say AC main, I want to say it's an 80-year life or thereabouts. But that doesn't mean that in 80 years we're gonna replace it either. You know, it also goes to how many leaks we've had in that neighborhood and all of that.
yeah, if you get a certain area where you are experiencing more leaks or water main breaks or something, then we'll focus efforts on replacing that whole area, because it's, in the long run, it's more cost effective to replace the whole main, that section of main that might be old, as opposed to going and repairing
Little section.
little sections of breaks or something as they occur. So we do have tracking systems that monitor all that, the location of, and when the breaks occur and where they occur. And but I don't, unless there was something flagged in that area, there was no indication that there was a problem there. I believe is the case that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. I mean, I know we've repaired. I'm sure we've had leaks in there before. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know how many we've had.
Right.
Doesn't seem any more than we've had in the Wilson Drive area or another older section or something like that. So.
Well, if it definitely sounds like a hydrant specific question, I think looking at the hydrant closer would
Yeah.
probably be the best.
And we certainly can. I just,
Yeah. Right.
I would lean on, I guess, if there was an issue with it, that it wouldn't go away. It would still have been there, and to operate that hydrant the next day. But we can certainly do that. We can do some fire floats in the neighborhood as well.
But if you mention a way to like look inside to see,
No, definitely.
yeah, that'd be good. And then, maybe reproducing, opening that up a little more frequently than we have to see if that condition ever happens again where we open that, no water comes out. Because, if that ever is reproduced again, then obviously that hydrant is a problem that needs to go. Be
Oh, no,
replaced,
absolutely.
obviously.
Absolutely. We would want to see what's causing it. First
Yeah.
off.
What's the cost to replace a hydrant?
New hydrant is, I want to say in the realm of 2,500 to 3,000. So it'll just be the cost of us today, being out there.
Oh, but Ben can afford it. He's good.
Don't listen to everything he says.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as part of the questions, maybe we can look at how old those hydrants are. When were we expecting to maybe have to replace them. I know if they work fine and we test them to make sure they work fine, and it's hard to say, well, we need to replace it if it's working fine, right? Because then there's more money that we're committing, and that's money that all you customers are also paying,
Exactly.
so.
So obviously, you know, we're out there looking at the hydrants, and if there was some sort of an issue where it would get replaced or repaired or replaced, but if it came to the point where now we're looking at replacing our water mains in the Woodland Park neighborhood because of the CAP and, you know, breaks or whatnot, we would put all new hydrants in. We wouldn't save those hydrants. Those, it would be, and we would go every 600 feet and
if there's a hydrant that's got an issue or something, there's actually a bag that goes over it that flags the fire department that that's not a usable hydrant. And then we just order parts immediately, get it fixed as soon as we can, but
We
it's
actually-
definitely flagged.
we actually report that to the fire department as well, that hydrant is not
I
operable.
wondered what those flags were.
Well, not flags, it needs
Bags,
flags.
yeah.
There's a bag over it.
Bagged over it.
Yeah,
I've seen that occasionally.
the flags are some, well, to dig safe.
All right, so what do you think you can report back on that hydrant investigation, and how long do you think you can take to get
I could probably get something together this week.
really?
Yep, I'll have to, well, before, let me let.
Yeah.
You looked at your calendar, 'cause I know what mine looks like.
Too late, we wrote it down.
I know I'm gonna be on sampling all day on Wednesday.
Wednesday, Thursday's expo.
Yeah. Even this week or next week, we'll definitely, but we don't want it to go
Yeah,
too far out, so.
yeah, at least I have an investigation looking inside that hydrant, if there's anything debris in there or something that would preclude that valve from opening. Let's make sure that we look at that. And then maybe you can work on replying to some of those.
Oh, definitely. Well, this will be out, I would say, we try to get these questions answered by the end. We'll get something out.
All right, that's whatever you think you can accomplish then.
When you take a close look at the hydrant, if you can give us some detail around what you did, what you saw, that would help restore some of our confidence.
But when you do the inspection, you can't turn the mechanism, water pressure.
Not with it open, no. I'm looking at.
You gotta be able to swim real fast.
I'll get the new guy to do that. No, I'm just kidding.
You really
So-
can't see what's going on.
The hydrant doesn't have a valve between the main and the hydrant?
It does. I can actually shut that off. We can go back.
That's what
Yeah.
he's saying.
We can turn that.
So he can pop open the top and
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
actuate it.
So then we'll look in there and make sure we see the thing.
Right.
That there's nothing obstructing it from moving. And you'll shut the water off on the leg that goes to the hydrant. so-
Yes, no, absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
We really appreciate your time and looking into this, and so we're just, it was just a really scary. thing.
Yeah, we're
And we
sorry you
don't wanna
have to
see
be
that
here.
Happen again, it's just so bad for Keith that they couldn't get
Absolutely.
water when they needed it.
and now you're like living somewhere else and everything's, I mean, everything a total loss in there, or?
Complete total loss. We're still working with insurance. It's probably gonna be another month before we get just a tally of everything in the house.
Hmm.
However long it takes for insurance to come back to us from that. Start looking at contractors to see how long the whole process will be.
Wow.
Coming up to the winter, so who knows?
Yeah,
The framers will work with winter, so. it's-
wow.
It's a long process. We're probably out for about a year.
I hope the insurance is able to come through for you in the interim and,
Yeah,
Basically.
they're putting us up in a hotel right now. We're renting from our neighborhood across the street, so we'll be able to
Oh.
kind of see what's going on.
yeah, right,
Well, it's 2 cars in that too.
Oh, that's right.
wow. Holy moly. All right, well, I hope we can get to the resolution of this one way or the other, and, I don't know what to do from here if we don't find anything wrong with it, but I don't know, we'll have to cross that bridge once we see what we find with this.
Yeah.
Pictures would help as well.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
sort of- Yeah.
Kind of pictures in there,
Yeah.
right?
I'm trying to think now if wondering if I could like get a hold of Barry or somebody, maybe they can actually camera it as we open it, something up and down, so that we can actually see things working.
I mean, I also want to also keep an eye on if the cost of investigating this thing is going to be higher than the cost of replacing the hydrant.
That's good.
Good point.
At what point,
I do that too, but I'd like to know if there was,
we would like to know.
if there was anything wrong with it or not.
Yeah.
Then we can use it to hopefully helping somewhere else.
That's
But,
true.
but I absolutely agree with it. It's gonna cost $5,000 to investigate it, just replace it, but
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't see it would be that high. I don't know who's got equipment to get in there with a camera and look, see what we need to see and whatnot, but. Why don't you look into it, and if it's something that you run into a roadblock that you can't get in there and look at what we want to look at, then. We can let you guys know and figure out what we can do from that point, but if you think you can get in there and look pretty easily or.
I know a couple of cameras, so yeah,
Okay.
UBI. No, Jimmy Emery has a camera as well that we do our wells with, so.
Okay,
uh,
yeah. All right, well, that'd be good. So hopefully we've at least addressed your immediate questions and there's more work to follow up on and we'll keep you engaged.
I appreciate your time tonight. It's, we need to vent somewhere.
Right, right.
So.
I saw some of you at the town council meeting on Thursday,
Yeah.
was
Yeah, we
this
were
related to this as well? Yeah. Wow.
Just,
Just want to let ourselves know.
Yeah, no, I don't blame
Our
you.
concerns,
Yeah,
because this, for the whole
I,
neighborhood.
like I said,
Anywhere
I
in this
appreciate
town.
the time and the listening and,
we do too. I mean, I always, we always have everybody that has a concern. We never turn people away from coming here and asking questions and presenting your
very
concerns.
much appreciate.
Good, glad to hear. All right, so we'll expect at least to get some kind of reply within a couple weeks, and if we need more equipment to look at things, and we'll keep you guys appraised of what.
Yeah, definitely keep
Fine.
very posted on, when things are, think are gonna happen.
You might want to hold on to that too,
Yeah. I don't know, keep one side.
right?
Good night.
Thanks, good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Have to skip the meeting minutes anyways.
Yeah.
what do we got here? Yeah, meeting minutes, is that because some of the,
I was not here for the,
all right, so we won't really have a
was that here?
forum?
No, actually, I was not here, right?
No,
No.
it was John and Wolf.
Yeah.
And you were down at the Cape.
That's right, you weren't here for that one either, so.
Oh, I was here, I ran
Were
the
you here
meeting.
for
from the beginning.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
That's right, you did.
I
But it's just the two of
have
us.
never missed a board of commissioners meeting in my life.
Not
How's
wrong,
that one?
not wrong.
Oh, you're on vacation.
Whether it's
God bless
National
you.
Beer Day or not. I'm
Yeah,
there.
no, that was a good one.
All right, so if you guys want, I guess we'll table the minutes for the next meeting.
So, do we want to talk about?
Which one now?
Not on the minutes, but about the,
Oh, the disputed
Oh, the customer.
water usage.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't know if that,
That can be under new business.
yeah, that's true. All right. Okay, why don't we do that in the new business? So I guess going back to the agenda, we're going to table the minutes from the September 19th meeting to give us the opportunity for those that were in attendance to comment or approve those minutes. So after that is the action items on here. So we can just kind of tick through those one by one here. Okay, number two, the first one, table of outstanding ESRs. I believe that is in the packet that you have.
Yep.
From Underwood and Emery and Garrett. I don't have any questions on those numbers, so if the rest of the board is okay, we can move on.
Change that to the date. For January,
Right,
Yeah, the next
yeah, because we're doing that quarterly, correct?
yes.
Okay, so that October can be changed to January. You got that, Amanda? All right. Number 23, PFAS sampling in a distribution system, that's due in November. Is that timing gonna work out? You guys collect those?
We're sampling on Wednesday.
Okay.
They'll be around for the next
And those will be in the distribution system as well? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Number 40, then we tabled that one till the spring.
Probably gonna have to be the summer now.
Number 43, the salt mitigation committee meetings. I think we were trying to set something up. There was a dual poll or something that went out, right? How did that was received? Any response on that?
I get like 8 responses out of. Right,
Yep. About how many do we send out?
that's what I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna be talking about the meeting that Ron and I went to town council meeting in probably old business, I think, but we may be doing or we want to be doing like a workshop with more of the town department, DPW, and members of the council, town manager, maybe a representative of planning board, conservation commission. So I was speaking with Jamie about that to update him on the town council meeting that we went to. And we were thinking instead of trying to do both, maybe we make the next meeting, the workshop meeting instead with the town. Because it's kind of a lot to have both, I think, in the same month. We're trying to do it in November.
Get a call, let us know too.
All right, okay, so that's good. So we'll come back to that in another section. So I think we can table that salt mitigation and just leave it as ongoing there. The number 46, the future public event policy. That got a note on here that's to be discussed in November. I don't know if we're gonna make that or not. Is Kerry still not back full-time at this point, right? Okay. So we might have to table that one again in November. 47, the system development charge calculation. I think we wanted to discuss that in September at the September workshop, so that we didn't make it to that. That topic we didn't have time for that. And the same thing with number 49, the corrosion control and chemical feed. So we probably need to reschedule those.
Yeah, I thought corrosion control.
Talk about that one?
Off
Tom Page was there.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
Get things back online, the treatment plant's up and running. Kind of address it once everything is back.
Once all of our wells are experiencing treatment, then we're gonna see what the water chemistry looks like for that. So why don't we make a note to revisit that number 49, probably sometime. Well, after our wells are online, that's probably, that's a wild card right there. I know. Why don't we, if it's not too far to push it out, maybe we push this after the annual meeting, because if our wells aren't, we need to give time for all of our well treatment plants to be online, then to have that water be in the distribution system.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, we pick a date. If we're not ready at that point, we can always move it back out again as well. So.
Why don't we put that to be scheduled in April, if you guys are okay with that, if that is not too far out? I just know it gets really crazy when it's February, March, when it's
The budget season.
the budget season, the annual meeting, the annual.
I was actually gonna suggest slightly farther out than that.
Even further than April.
Well, we
Yeah.
don't even know,
We don't know when we're gonna get anything, right? So.
we don't
That's
even
true.
have a timetable for when to receive them, not just to install them, so.
I mean, we can always,
I
we
was
can
honestly
always,
thinking more like June,
yeah,
but I mean,
June-ish.
all right, yeah.
we can revisit it in April, and then if they're not here, we don't know, then.
And
We
it-
we
What
can
else?
always
We
move
can-
it up too if we wanted
Yeah,
to.
right, you know, maybe next month,
Yeah.
get a date or something.
That's true. All right, so what, Amanda, why don't you make number 49 to be discussed in June, say during a June 2023 work session?
Okay.
What about the SDC calculation? Is that something we want also to push
At the
out
same time.
that same time? I think I'm okay with it. I don't know that we're gonna have time to meet before that. What do you think about number 47, the system development charge calculation? Pushing that out till June as well?
Time together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so 47, 49, why don't we redate those to June 2023?
Okay.
Number 52, the results of PFPRA. Did you end up talking to Brandon at all?
I haven't called into him. He hasn't gotten back yet, so.
All right, so we'll keep that as is. Number 55 was the review of the sick time, paid time off format with Michelle Holton. What do we have here? We're gonna be discussing this in December. So I guess we can keep that for that, in case we need to work it into the budget, right? That was the purpose of that. 56, organize a work session for permitting based on peak consumption. That kind of follows the SDC metrics, I think, as well. Number 57, those are all kind of related, I think. Do we want to push those out as well, or it says on here well, that's when it was added in February. I don't know, do we want to push all this out to June? It seems kind of far out on all of
I mean,
them.
we can do those ones for that. A permit.
We could always bring a couple of these back as like agenda items too. I mean, they don't have to be in a separate work
That's true.
session, right?
I think we talked about this a little bit during the work session, or I'm confusing it with flat.
Yeah,
With Kevin.
I think we did talk about number 56 in the,
We did, and then it was adjusted for yeah,
Average daily.
yeah.
yeah, we did talk about that one.
I know he did his reports based on that.
So has that been resolved then, or maybe,
That was just for Underwood to start using peak demand numbers, and that's what they're using.
right?
In the review, so I guess.
They're using those currently? Oh, okay.
I'd like to kind of put this as an agenda item because I think it was only Wolf and myself and you guys on the workshop, right?
Yes.
So there's 3 commissioners that probably need to be updated on that. So maybe we want to bring that back on an agenda. Just to kind of go over what the resolution was on that. Do we want to try to pick a next meeting that we want that on? I know Jamie's planning on being here to present the more backup information on artificial recharge at the next meeting.
So that's in November.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's too much to try and tack on to that meeting. But maybe we should shoot for it, because if not, then we're into December and then we start getting in the budget season. Let's try to put this on 56. 56 and 57. See if we can kind of put those on the agenda for the November meeting. So can you make a note of that, Amanda, that the action date of the November Board of Commissioners meeting on those 2?
Yep.
All right, so the next item is number 58 for updated mineral graphs. Those are due in November, so we can move on from that. Number 59, evaluation of proactive measures to track, correlate customer water quality complaints. And looks like this is slated for, staff is working on implementing this within the new software and discuss this in December. So we can plan on trying to revisit that in December, number 59.
Are we like hoping to get a like graph of seeing what are our top 5 complaints or issues that we're getting from customers to get a better idea of what's going on?
Maybe Jill can explain, trying to put 2 words together. Jill can explain what the staff was working on. I think the new software we have is an opportunity for us to input those complaints or not. Is it, am I,
It's just going in and if somebody calls in with a water quality complaint, she goes in and puts vendor, whether it's discoloration or whatever. But in order, we don't have history there. So we're going to go back and look at the history, see what we have for history. See. Because I know that with that, we can pull up a list and then plot it out. But we just don't have anything in there right now.
I was just curious, like over time, what are some of the biggest complaints from customers? This kind of maybe give us a focal point or what us as the MVD need to maybe better focus on, or maybe help us pinpoint opportunities to,
right?
I just out of general curiosity, exactly what are some of the biggest issues that
Groundwater flushing.
Yeah.
Chlorine taste if they live too close to a station.
So if this is, it's looks like this is going to be discussed in December, so maybe we can, I don't know that we're going to have all the graphs in place by then. I don't know if we're expecting that or whatever to plot where.
Can we just do an update in December? See if-
Yeah, and
Okay.
then we can ask more detailed information as to,
I just ask at this moment, I don't need something fancy.
I mean-
I get on it. I just curious. That's
Just a touch point.
yeah.
all right, so let's keep that for December. The request from Luke Niles, I think you said you had asked him about something and he,
I did, so I did send them off I texted Lou, kind of say, you send us a
NSF 61.
ISO report, NSF report, and I haven't heard anything. It's not.
Yeah, still nothing.
Follow up on that again.
Yeah, I guess leave it there because I don't want to lose track of it. I still want to find out if he's got something because, this goes back to the columns that we're thinking of trying to set up at wells 4 and 5. And if we can do a test on the zeolite, but I don't think it's prudent to spend money testing the zeolite if it's not NSF approved.
Right.
No sense testing it, we can't use it.
So the way I wrote the text was, we're not at that point yet of where we want to test, but we want to look at, the NSF certification if you have that.
Right.
And you want to get bombarded with.
Yeah, going to the next level. We're just trying to get to the first step.
Stuff together, so I will.
Follow up on them again. And I mean, if you want to copy me on that too, that's fine. And maybe I can follow up. So share the burden on them a little bit and just, say, Lou, we want to, we're considering conducting our own tests on the zeolite media. But before we invest in testing the zeolite media, we want a confirmation that if we ever wanted to use this in real scale, that we're able to do it, and we need that certification. And whatever he reports to us, I'd like to be able to give that on to the state and say, if we test this and it works better than carbon, based on this certification, would DES approve us?
Yeah.
Right, would you allow us, Because I think we need that confirmation before I'm comfortable investing money in testing the media.
Right.
No sense testing
There would be
it,
no purpose.
You're not going to get approved.
Yeah.
right, So maybe the stuff's used on non-drinking water or private drinking water or something that's not regulated by the DES for public water systems. And maybe that's what Lou's hanging his hat on, but to use it in a public water system, that's got to have the NSF certification to it. you know. I don't know if he doesn't realize that, but anyways. All right, where are we? 61. The addendum, the cost analysis. Did we go over that with them already? It says to be done at the 9/28 work session. So we covered that. I thought Keith was gonna do something. I think what came out of that is that we need to move forward with the cost of service from,
Right, but he was still gonna put something together, I believe, for the
yeah,
rest of it.
I thought he wanted to do something for this meeting. So we're still at the point where we want to choose one or more of our multiple source development options to proceed with. So the Pennichuck interconnect wholesale agreement was only supposed to be a bridge.
Yeah.
To get us 3 years to the point where hopefully in 3 years from now, if we make a decision on which other source alternative to pursue now, it'll be designed, permitted, built, ready for operation in 3 years from now. So that we could put away the Pennichuck agreement if it's not what we think it's worked out to be, and use our source, our own source capacity alternative instead, whichever one we choose. So I still think we're at a point where we need to choose which source alternative. And I think Underwood recommended that we use either artificial recharge or Mitchell Woods was their number one. But I think those are pretty high on the cost
Especially artificial recharge.
per gallon per day on those. So I don't know if that makes the most sense, but they were supposed to kind of go through and confirm and revise some of their other numbers in that and get back to us. So we should probably push that off. Why don't we see if Keith can have something for the next November meeting? Can you follow up with that? And Amanda, can you redate that number 61 for the November Board of Commissioners meeting? And then number 2, a procedure to bypass a defective VFD. I don't think we have anything more to report on that. It sounds like we're going to have that in place from what Peter was discussing today. He mentioned something about that, but I know Wolf had most of the questions on that, so I'd like to let's see if we can bring that back for another.
Definitely talk more about that at the next meeting.
Yeah. So let's see if we can get that answered at the next meeting as well in November. And
that's number 62.
that's number 62.
We have that in our O&M manuals. There probably should be something to bypass it. Let me rephrase that. We have the soft start added into the VFDs. There probably should be something in the O&M package that does allow that to have a procedure on that. So
Yeah. So that you're talking about the O&M for like wells 4 and 5, or do we even have one for 7 and 8 yet? That's kind of one of the last things to
I
come
think
in.
we just got 4 and 5. So
That's what I mean. Well, maybe to have someone, if it's Underwood or if it's you or someone on the staff to review that, I think we just need a level of comfort that that's there. And if it happens, how do we put that in place? And it's going to be in an emergency. So maybe if we can have that looked into for November, if that's possible.
you know, I'm gonna talk to Pete about that, because if it seems like it should be in there if it's not.
Right. All right. And the last one, number 64, clarification, destruction, PFAS during regen. I think there was some talk about a certificate or something that we can get.
Yep.
And I want to say, I still think Wolf had a question on that, though. Was there still something outstanding?
He wanted to know if it was just displacing the contaminant.
Yeah, right, like where,
does it go?
Or
I
if
think
they're
Lynette did say it
destroyed.
goes, she believes it goes to an incinerator.
It goes to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Practices or Protection or something.
Huh.
I got a call from them looking for our TIN number. And they just verify that we are who we are, so they can take it away and destroy.
All right, so where was that discussed? Was that discussed at the last meeting?
Email so far.
All right, so let's, I'd like to just have the whole board kind of review it, have Underwood talk about it, so we are all on the same page, so do we want to try and do that in November as well? Let's see,
Yeah, I
like
think
it's,
part of their
Yeah.
update, they can
I agree.
touch on that.
I don't think it takes too much time to research that, bring it, present it to the board, just brief discussion. All right, now, we didn't add anything to today, or did we?
You didn't, but I had a question about something you might want to add. Did you want to add a meeting with the contractor for wells 2 and 3?
I think we said if they were uncomfortable as acting as the middleman continuously,
Right,
they could meet with us directly.
I think because they weren't giving us any
Yeah.
answer, not giving Underwood any answer.
I think it depends on what the contractor and Underwood discuss
Mhm.
in the next month, so I don't know that needs to be an action item, but I think we can leave it
We
off.
just discuss it
For
next.
now, let's see what we got.
If next month we're in the same predicament, maybe we'll add it then.
Right. And then for Ron to report back on the hydrant issue, did you want to add that or just leave it as is?
I don't know, what do you think?
I mean, we could put it on there as an action item. I'm hoping to have something before this meeting regardless, so.
Let's put it on, and that way, even if it's resolved, we can talk about it at the next meeting, how it was resolved, hopefully. So,
Okay.
yeah, so that could be number 65, I guess, if that's the next number. With, with an action date of the next meeting, the November meeting.
Okay.
Good, thanks for pointing those out.
No problem.
All right, anybody else have any other action item, questions, comments, anything? If not, we can, I guess we can move on. What do we have next? It would be old business. Old business. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we'll talk about this. Residents and new business. Anybody have any old business to items to talk about? Nothing. So I guess the only old business, and I'll bring it up as old business, although I don't know if it's really new business, but as you know, we had previously reviewed the town's salt policy and procedure. MVD put together some comments, sent that off to Kyle Fox. Is he the DPW director, right?
Yes, yes.
Want to get his title correctly. And then he responded with some comments as well. I think that email was sent around to everybody. I don't know if
If not,
everybody.
I only actually sent it to you and Paul.
Oh, that's right. 'cause we
Yeah,
were
with
thinking
his comments,
we were
I
gonna
mentioned.
go, yeah,
I mentioned.
Jamie had comments.
Jamie as well,
right.
but you forwarded to Jamie, so I can get that out to the rest of them.
Yeah, and so basically, we had a number of comments, concerns from the procedure and policy, and so Ron and I went to the town council meeting last Thursday. And, I explained to them that we still had outgoing, existing comments that remain to be addressed, and the council asked us that question. Is there still things that are, remain unaddressed? And I said, yeah, there are. But so what they essentially resolved was that they were still going to approve the policy as it was written. So they did approve the policy at that meeting, but they also added to the motion to establish like a workshop, a work session, I guess if you want to call it, with the town manager, potentially a counselor, a representative counselor, and also a representative from the planning board Conservation Commission, have Kyle participate and Jamie present as well, and any one of our commissioners if we want to do this. So I think it's on us to set up this workshop. So critical to have Jamie there because he's got a lot of information. And we've all heard this before probably, but I went through, some of the comments that we had that Jamie had worked with the city of Dover and implemented a brine for anti-icing before the storms, and it's worked really well. It's reduced their salt consumption, it's reduced their cost, and it's worked very well. Some of the information was a little bit of a discrepancy with what Kyle's understanding was. They claimed they had tried using brine at some limited capacity in Merrimack before, and it just didn't work to their satisfaction. So we need more details on what they attempted and how they attempted, where they attempted to use it. There's not enough traffic in Merrimack to make it effective. So again, where did they use it? I don't know where, but so in this policy that they approved, the main thing that, is kind of concerning is the collector roads, the main arterial roads, I guess, in the wellhead protection areas are currently in the 1984 policy that's in effect now, previous to last week. Those roads were listed as no salt, and they're changing them to limited salt now. So on the face, it's kind of going in the opposite direction of what we're trying to accomplish. We want to take salt out of the roads. And this is allowing them to go and use salt. So, speaking with Jamie and everything, if we're going to put salt on those roads for safety purposes, it definitely makes more sense to put brine, liquid brine down and not use the crystallized salt. And I'm not sure that we want to, confirm that right now. Our preference would still have no salt at all in the no salt roads in those wellhead protection zones. But if the town's bylaw always has an emergency condition in there that when it's an emergency situation, they can apply salt anywhere they want because it's an emergency. And, I kind of understand that. If it's an emergency, it's an emergency. If it's sheer ice and cars are flying off the road everywhere, you got to do something. But in those circumstances, maybe it makes sense to use brine as well. If there's a ice storm coming. So there's a whole number of comments. I think there was probably at least, 12 or 15 comments. And, in my review and Jamie's review is, they weren't all addressed. There were some that were just left blank and they weren't addressed. And then some of the comments that addressed or were attempted to address the comments weren't necessarily fully addressed. To our satisfaction, I think they still leave room for discussion. So in all that, I think we want to try and set up a work session. So it's probably on us to invite and to try to see whose schedules, what's the availability on everybody's part, right? So if you have some available dates from Jamie, which I believe you do, and those were the dates he was going to use for our normal salt committee meeting. So we're going to kind of put that off, I think, and we're going to turn that into a workshop session. So some of the things Jamie and I just talked about was, do we want to invite that private contractor who had been attending
Sean O'Keefe.
to see if he has some experience, or maybe if we want to consider using him as an interim basis before the town purchases equipment to try to use for brine? I don't know. So see if he wants to attend and if he has any good information to offer. So if we can reach out with an email to Paul McCallie, he could probably disseminate it to the town council if there's anybody on the council that wants to attend. But I think we were thinking of having him personally attend, right? Either with someone from the council or on behalf of the council, whatever he feels. Maybe reach out to the chair of the planning board, which I think you already reached out to these guys to invite them to the regular meeting. So maybe if you want to just explain to them that this meeting is actually going to be with representatives of the town boards and just talk about how the town can kind of discuss ways the town can modify their salt application. And follow up to see, I don't know if you got any responses from anybody on those boards with any availability, but I think we're at the point now, we're trying to schedule this
I'll
for,
take care of that this
okay. So we're looking at like sometime in November, I think.
November 2nd and 3rd. It's 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, something like that.
Okay. And I think I saw that doodle poll too. I think I forwarded it out to you guys too, if you were interested in coming. So it looks like we're still trying to target that time frame. It's just going to be a little bit of a different meeting now. But that's really, that's really the gist of it. The comments that we submitted to the town council, we just kind of want to go over that. And I'm going to look at developing sort of an agenda on topics I think we want to kind of discuss. The only other thing I wanted to do is also, I'm wondering, what can we do to try to petition the state to really enforce Industrial Drive in their part of Continental as being a no salt route or limited salt route?
I was thinking about that as well. And I'm wondering is there anything NHDS can do as far as Pierce or somebody that's been active in these committees? Can they petition as well, or at least
Right.
to a meeting?
I mean, so one of the things what I want to see is when you're coming down from exit 10, coming down Industrial Drive towards Continental Boulevard, you don't see the limited salt sign until you're almost at the intersection of Continental and Industrial. But that whole road drains from the high point, which is almost where the exit ramp is going south. There's a high point there, and then it drains into our wellhead protection area. So I would like to see the state move that sign further up,
It really should be, yeah.
The
drainage should dictate where that sign goes.
right. So, because we've seen sort of a pretty obscene amount of salt put down right at the intersection there. It's almost like the trucks sit there at the red light and the thing keeps spinning. Is what it looks like, because it's like,
That's definitely what happened.
it's like inches thick, and you might as well be putting it right down the well. I mean, it's like right there. So, so I don't know if we can reach out to someone at the DOT also. Do we have a contact to invite them to this workshop?
I've been invited for the last 8 years.
So this might be an agenda item that we can discuss, because, I felt bad for Kyle because he felt like he was being picked on. And, they did put together this policy and they spent a lot of time working on it. And I thanked them for doing that. And he kind of acknowledged that, we're like the only ones that show up to this thing, so we're getting all the heat for it. And he's got a point, and I've explained that we try to, and we have invited the large parking lot owners as well. And they have attended some of these salt meetings, but the problem is they're nobody's really under any obligation to do this. That's the problem. So my point to the town was, if you set the tone, you set the standard, that makes it a little bit more easy to say to the landowners, look, the town is doing this on their own fruition. It's their own decision to do this. They're not required to do this. There's no bylaw requiring them to do this. So if they're setting the standard by which the private parking lot owners can follow, then I think we'll be in better shape. So I think for now, we're just going to meet without the parking lot owners and keep it to the town, limit to the town. But that's an item I want to discuss at this workshop. So anyway, I think probably enough said about that. I don't know if you have any more questions on it, but we're trying to set that up for November. I assume, for me, it'd be better if we can do something later in the afternoon. But again, if we're inviting everybody that's working full-time for the town, it's probably something that's going to be in the middle of the day. If we can do something later in the afternoon, that'd be better. All right, so that was my spiel for old business. I don't think I have anything else for old business. So if anybody has anything else, doesn't have anything else, we can move on. New business, Anybody have any new business to discuss?
Yes, that's the.
The letter.
Right. So do you have sort of a synopsis of this or?
So, the gentleman, he called in saying that his meter was spinning when he turned off, and he had all the water off, like shut off the water, it would spin.
In his house?
Yep, it would spin for like 30 seconds afterwards, and he thought maybe it was the age of the meter. So he sent over one of the field techs. He said it is a pretty old meter, so we swapped it out. But in the meantime, he also repaired his check valve. And the new meter and the check valve, that there was no more usage. So it wasn't spinning anymore. The meter was checked back here, and it's in perfect working order as well.
So what valve did he repair
Check valve,
on his own plumbing in his house?
so that's
Well,
the,
it sits above the meter on the horn. We do require a check valve there.
But a check valve doesn't let water leak out.
No, yes,
I don't see how that has anything to do with anything.
I agree.
Prevents water from flowing backwards.
Yeah.
So what is he claiming the meter was faulty and that's why his bill was high or?
exactly, but he's saying that his usage was, off the charts, et cetera, which if you look at the second page that's with it, that's the history of his usage. There's been 2014, he used 37,900 cubic feet. Yeah, the other, several of these other years were drought years that we had put additional restrictions on, so it's not unheard of that he's used that amount, but it's been a long time since he has.
So these are annual,
It's for the same quarter each year.
for the same quarter. I see what you're saying here. And then what was his usage in this one?
Is this 21.3 was the one he's disputing?
21,300.
Yes.
I mean,
That's not too far away from,
that's below both of his highest.
I mean, granted in 19, 20 and 21 used considerably less than he used from 14 to 18. Well, not really. I mean, so really the only,
Restrictions were in place too, so.
Right.
2016, 2020.
I mean, 20 was the year we were actually driving around and checking, was it not?
I think it was.
Yeah, we did patrolling.
That would have been that quarter, correct? Bill comes out in September. That would have been the summer quarter.
Yep. Well, this is usage oh yeah, this is usage for that bill. Yes, you're right.
So he wants us to fix it down to consumption. He's willing to accept 10,650. How does he calculate that?
Half of what
When that technician brought it back, you said
it was tested.
it was functioning properly?
Oh, the meter you swapped out was working correctly.
Well, we had to test it, so we swapped out the meter to bring it back and test it, new one, and then if it tests fine, then that's when we go back out into the system. We wouldn't go back out and swap it back.
Right,
Just go to another resident.
Yeah,
but I mean, that was working.
We haven't had a reading of the new meter that we put out there, have we? I mean, granted, we're not gonna bill them for it yet, but we don't have any idea what it's reading since we changed it out.
it was only like Thursday.
Oh, okay, so it was-
Yeah, it's very.
Incredibly recent, so that's.
Oh, okay.
He wanted to dispute it. I said he could write a letter to the board and.
I mean, you have thoughts on that?
Well, this kind of falls into the category of waiving SDC charges and stuff too.
It was the one you do for.
And I mean, the evidence we have shows the meter was working.
Right.
We tested it.
The amount he was billed for is not exorbitant compared to the other.
It doesn't fall, like, it's not an outlier of prior usage.
I mean, the meter is fine, so.
I mean, the real outliers were the past 2 years. Those are the outliers of the numbers that he's given us.
Yeah, I mean, for this to be considered an outlier, would probably have to be something back to the usage he had back in 2014 or something, which was 38,900. I mean, I don't know. If we tested the meter and it tested accurately, that shows it was,
What was his point with the check valve?
We just said he fixed the check valve as the technician suggested.
You know, you hear the water, but a check valve, from what I understand, it just stops it from
So it-
flowing the opposite
I mean,
direction.
it says here, we checked our meter and noticed it was spinning despite no water running. Well, you got a leak.
Well, even that, when you're running water,
If it comes up to pressure, so if he's flowing, whatever he's got flowing in his house, if it wasn't
Yeah.
keeping up, maybe the valve wasn't open all the way, and then that 3 seconds to
Doesn't take
pressure
long.
on the pipe
pressurize.
normalized.
Usually only 5-10 seconds, you know?
Right.
It doesn't say that here. It said the water, the meter,
Or recites what he called in about it. It was that when they shut down all the water, that it was still running through the meter
Well, it will. It's not an
for
instantaneous.
how long?
for like 30 seconds.
This is a large house,
Yes.
you know? It is a large house.
2-family.
It's the one on Babusick Lake Road. It's after Indian Rock. It's on the left, it looks like a compound on the left-hand side.
Oh, okay.
Says here, the technician confirmed that the meter was running without any water. running.
It's supposed to. That's how pressure works.
Meter was installed and the problem was corrected.
The old meter got tested and it's working properly.
So one other thing we can do, so we tested in-house.
Mhm.
I can suggest if this person is willing, I can have it sent, that meter sent out for a third-party inspection. And if it comes back with the same,
How much would that cost?
I want to, I have $75 stuck in my mind. I don't know if that's current pricing or not.
Because if having it sent out to a third-party person is more than just forgive from the bill, that's
Oh, no, well.
the difference, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, who covers the semi,
That's what I'm saying. He's not gonna pay for it, I can tell you that.
Then it would, now we would look at the request, but if it comes back that it's testing fine, the homeowner would pay for the bill. The disputed amount as well as the tested meter.
That's,
Well, it says here, a new meter was installed, the problem was corrected. That sounds like it was a bad meter, but I don't know how a meter can keep spinning if there's no water going through it. That doesn't make any sense to me. He's also asking for relief from a late, it's late on
you know, I feel we should be penalized with a late fee.
The late fee, he was, that was during investigation time.
okay. Oh, man, I don't know.
I mean, I can certainly,
That's been our typical practice, is send it out if they want us to send it out.
Yeah. They're saying if you sent it out and it was proven to be accurate, you want to send the customer the bill for the testing too?
that's our policy, yeah.
No.
Thanks.
Just makes sure that they're committed.
And we can certainly give them the results that we came up with.
Can you ask the technician that was out there to confirm when
That it
he
was no longer
says, when he
spinning
says
after
it
it
was,
was.
problem was corrected?
That's not. what the notes.
Oh, that's not what the, it's not what the work order report said? Was there like a work order report?
I didn't see that. I can look at it.
All right, I'm getting, this is what the customer's saying.
Yeah, this is the customer's point of view.
I wonder if the technician would say that that's true or not. Know what I mean? I think we just proceed by our bylaw, and if he wants us to send the meter out to have it independently confirmed. I mean, according to this, there's no doubt that the meter, in this person's opinion, that the meter is faulty, so it should be proven by an independent party that it's faulty. And if so, we'll credit him what he's asking for and not make him pay for the meter. I think, is that reasonable to you guys?
Yeah.
Well, the other question is, how do we know what is the actual? We're just going by what he thinks he used.
Yeah.
He's just splitting in half.
Yeah,
The total.
so, I mean, he's saying that he's in between 2021 and 2020 where we had, water usage was restricted, not so much this year, 2021, but in 2020.
I wouldn't look at that because he's essentially writing his own water bill, just.
I mean, was this information or?
That was provided by.
This is our-
That was the same quarter for the last several years.
Well, we don't have to commit to what, if the meter's found to be faulty, we can
Then we-
discuss how much to
Just
credit them on the usage. But let's cross that bridge if the road leads us there. I guess. That makes sense?
No, absolutely.
And I know, people are surprised. Happened to me when I went away and I came home and
forget to shut off that toilet fill valve. You gotta
my
close that water
sprinkler
out.
system was leaking and I was mowing my lawn and I sunk in this massive mud pit. And I was like, what, it was thought my septic system was failed. And I looked in my meter and it was just turning. And I looked and it was an irrigation head running, just dribbling, you couldn't see it unless you really looked. And the bill was like $350 more than normal. It's amazing how much a little leak does, but I don't know if that was the case or not, but anyway. I'm kind of reluctant on setting precedents with these things, and I think we gotta kind of stick to the bylaw.
So that's the standard, is they can send it out to a third party.
Yep.
You guys good with that
Send
then?
it out,
Yes.
Okay. All right. New business, anybody have any other new business? So the one new business item I have, and it's kind of tied into people questioning the water usage. So I know when I get my electric bill, it shows you the monthly breakdown for the previous 12 months or something like that. Can we look into and ask our software vendor if we ever could have that capability?
There's actually a bar thing on there that shows you what you're paying.
Like each month, it will show you what your usage
For the
was.
past 12 months?
I don't know how far it's new software, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, because that would answer half your questions. Because half your questions are, yes, you did use this much before.
Mhm.
And your bill is higher because the rate went up. But
So my gut's gonna say going forward, if that bar is there, as we have,
History.
we'll have history, that should,
all right, so we're creating the history database as we're using this
this
new
doesn't
software.
necessarily, but I will confirm that. I don't.
That's my question is
Go
just,
on here, my MVD, and look on the right-hand side and on the tabs, because I don't know how far back it goes, but there are.
And then the other piece would be the endpoint, so that the endpoint software we're using, if we switch to a cell dialer piece of it, we could actually have a whole dashboard and we'd actually be able to get data. I mean, that would be a little bit out because we'd obviously have to put these new endpoints in, but that would be something we could do as well. That would give us that. It's as many times as it reads, it could theoretically we would create that history.
right,
I'm gonna step out.
okay. Yeah, I mean, so I'm not on the my MVD thing. I'm still doing the old paper bill and all that stuff, which probably 90% of our customers still are, right? They are. So if we can get a paper bill, like my paper electricity bill. That
Oh, you mean it
shows,
printed on the paper bill? It will
Yes.
show you like the last
I
12.
don't know if that, I'll have to
So would it be by quarter since we get billed by quarter, right?
Right. Just showing
I see
what
what
the
you're saying,
historic,
yeah.
because I get my electric bill, I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
And then
because
I
they
look,
show you the last. 3
oh,
months
well,
or
last
12 months.
November I used the same amount. The same amount of electricity, but the bill's higher because the rates are higher.
Yeah,
Right.
So I want people, instead of calling you 100 times,
to just look at the.
to look at the bill and they can say, oh, I used this much water the last quarter and this
Mhm.
much the quarter before that and this much the quarter before that.
Mhm.
Just the usage, not the price, just the usage. If we can, everybody gets the same electric bill as I do, probably because we got one customer in New Hampshire, one provider. So, you know what I'm talking about? It shows the bar
Yeah.
graph.
Yeah, they showed this time last year, you
Right.
do this.
So
Yeah.
you're
Back
right. In this
13
case,
months
it's
to include
each
the-
quarter. If there's a way that our software, and if there's not, quite frankly, I am not very happy with this software in the least.
I would be surprised. if
At
it
all.
wasn't.
So it was we had the update, we were kind of forced into this new software because they weren't going to support the old one anymore. It was like the next step of it. But I also know that when you're talking with Jill today, that if we go monthly, there was a lot more. So the whole setup of the forms and stuff, the stuff that Amy was trying to do with this rate increase, if we were monthly reading, it would have worked a lot better. So it made that, again, that may be something we want to,
Mhm.
we might have some limitations reading the way we read with the software that works off monthly. And so there might be some other options. I just need to talk to Amy.
So it sounds like we might be changing all that again, and maybe you can report in your superintendent report coming up how the whole billing thing unfolded, if you know how we want to proceed. But as part of that, I think it would be good to have an indicator of prior usage
Let me find out.
going back probably, at least a year if possible. And if we can't back populate that data, then if we start it from here going forward, you know what I mean? So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, that's something I need to talk to Amy. Might be something that's possible if we were doing monthly reading versus
Sure,
quarterly.
That's what I want you to kind of figure out.
I will ask about that.
All right, great. Let's see, the other things I wanted to discuss. I wanted to clear the information on, the hell is it now? Okay. A concerned citizen forwarded to me a email that was sent. It was sent, I think, from Senator Daniels' campaign. It was titled Merrimack's Republican delegation made historic progress on PFAS. And I was like, great. I started reading it, and then I started running into some text here that alarmed me. Well, the main one that concerned me there's a couple statements in here that one of our representatives worked to deliver $2.5 million to fix and improve the water tank on Turkey Hill Road. I don't know if that's correct. But this is talking about grants, $2.5 million.
So we actually, the drinking water groundwater trust fund loan for 1.1 million, was 1.2 for
For the booster station,
Turkey
right?
Booster Station, right. And in that was some upgrades to the tank. We did the new hatch and a mixer, that kind of stuff. So that all fell into that project.
Okay. So when Turkey Hill tank was replaced before our time,
Yeah.
do you remember any grant for that from the Drinking Water Groundwater Trust? This is
I don't
specifically
even know
from
if that was
Drinking Water.
around. I think that was. I'm gonna kind of take a guess. I want to say it was late 70s, early 80s that was, the tank was switched over. I'd
Yeah,
have to
so
go
there
back
probably
and
wasn't
confirm.
even a drinking.
I don't even think there was.
Trust fund. So they must have been incorrectly thinking they should have referred to the booster station
Correct.
in the amount of 1.1 million. 1.2.
We'll say 1.2.
Okay.
But that was, a
189.
but that was a loan, not a grant.
That is correct.
Oh, yeah, that is actually a loan. That's true. That's a good
That's-
point.
It's a large difference there.
So
There's a
we
big
had
difference.
We had a drinking water groundwater trust fund grant of 405,000 for wells 4 and 5.
Right.
And then we had a grant of 1.4 for the wells 2, 3, 7, and 8 project.
How much
I think it
again?
was 1.5, 1.48, right?
1,450,000.
So, yeah, it would, the way it reads here, it actually doesn't say grant or loan. Let me rephrase that. It actually says they worked with a Merrimack representative. They actually called out late speaker Merrimack Representative Dick Hinch to deliver $2.5 million to fix and improve the water tank on Turkey Hill Road. And here's the other one that is astonishing. 15 million for the filtration system in wells 4 and 5. And then 5.5 million for the Pennichuck pump in Merrimack River. Well, I'm not questioning the Pennichuck pump because I don't know, but there was no $15 million for a filtration system at wells 4 and 5. The whole project cost 5.1 million. Though I'm thinking was the confusion was the 1.5 million we got
For the other wells.
for wells 2, 3, 7, and 8. And someone missed the decimal point. The 1.5 turned into 15 million in this article. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because I don't want our customers seeing this, which I don't know where it got emailed to. One party in town, which is most of the town. And I don't want people to think that we received $15 million.
Why is my bill going up if you guys got?
Right,
Yeah.
so, I'm just correcting these gross inconsistencies. There's some mention in here about working to have Saint Gobain pay to fix the well water they contaminated. I don't know if they're talking about private wells here or not, but certainly Saint Gobain didn't pay us anything except for the settlement agreement. That had nothing to do with any.
That was between the MVD
That was
and St.
MVD.
Gobain.
Right, so
They did,
I don't know what,
so St. Cobain did pay, or they were responsible for people within the groundwater management zone that were not already on our water. So but I don't know what that.
I'm thinking it's probably the $5,000 for in-home filtration or the $10,000 to connect to a public
wasn't
water.
St. Cobain, that would have.
No, that's not Saint Gobain, but
Yep,
it's not either. It's the state. Yeah,
state, that's federal monies that became available
Right.
that the state has put towards, or was, I shouldn't say state, that was legislature had put for PFAS remediation. Or
right. I mean, it's all 100% federal money that's
Right.
administered through the state. So,
Right.
but anyway, I just want to point out to our customers, the 3 of them that are probably watching this, that be careful what you read. Don't believe everything you read. And if there's going to be a correction issued, to keep your eye out for that. The last thing, no one else has any more questions on that or anything else.
No, I think that maybe MVD official.
Oh, yeah.
Facebook, maybe to correct state that where we have gotten funds. Spell out where we got the funds and the right amount. Just so there's be clarification. I don't think the MVD should be used for any political.
Do you think we proactively put something out on our Facebook page to say if,
I think so, because it's a mailer going out too, right? So,
I don't know if it was a mailer, I just got a forward of an email that
yeah,
was sent to somebody questioning if this is true or not.
So do we know so we don't know if it was, I'm sorry, if it was a mailing or if it was just.
I don't know if it was a mailing, but it was an email. Looks like it was an email that got sent out. And it didn't get sent to me directly, it got forwarded to me from, I don't want to name who it was a
No, no.
concerned citizen. that asked me if this was factually correct.
Yeah.
And when I saw those numbers, I said, no, it's not, as far as I understand. So should MVD put something out on our Facebook page and say, if
At least if anything, at least we didn't get 15 million. That's the customers are gonna be, okay, why are our rates are going up so high? You know,
I don't know,
Reach out to somebody in that,
I guess we could.
and then say,
Correct it.
this
I mean,
is-
give them an opportunity to correct it maybe, and if
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
doesn't happen, I mean, we're only got 2 weeks, it should be corrected sooner than later.
Yeah.
because-
Yeah.
well, who knows, maybe somebody just didn't verify, read with this.
Everybody makes grammatical errors. I mean, you miss a decimal point, that's a little dot. It's easy to miss,
Yep.
obviously.
So,
So, I don't know, give it to the end of the week, and if there's a correction issued, then great. If not, and I think it'd be nice if we were copied on that correction, so we know. So then when people call us, we can say, oh, no, that was retracted over here.
Right.
So why don't we give them the opportunity? And if that doesn't happen, I don't know, what time do you feel comfortable? The end of the week, beginning of
I'd
next
say the
week?
end of the week. I think that's a fair.
All right,
It's being
So-
Monday, I think by Friday. Or Monday, or next Monday, but at the latest.
and I had been in touch with a couple of the reps that are shown in this, that it's a picture of the 8 Republican reps and senator
Mhm.
that are here. So it seemed like they were all kind of involved in this, I think, from what I'm led to believe by the picture. I don't know if that's true.
The picture at least makes it look that way.
It
Yeah.
does. So I did reach out to a couple of them, and one of them replied that they would definitely be watching this meeting. And so I'll reach out to them personally myself and just say, we'll give you an opportunity to print a correction. And if you don't want to do that, or if that's not done, we're just going to update our Facebook page just to put the correct information out.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that. I think that's responsible.
Yep.
And the only last thing I had was, and I brought this up last month because Congressman Pappas' office had asked me if it was possible if they could do another press conference like we did last year. And I said, MVD had an issue with the way it was handled last year because there was only invitations sent out to one party, essentially. There weren't invitations sent out across the board. And I said, we developed the draft policy, and that draft policy now requires, if this is ever going to happen in the future, that it has to be equal invitations sent out to both parties. So if there's an incumbent running, there needs to be an invitation sent out to the opposing party. And I said, if you're willing to live with that, go talk it over, but it's a non-starter with us if you're not willing to live
If
with
it's
that.
just them.
I mean, when are they looking to do it too?
I didn't get that. So I got a call today, and we spoke today, and they said they'd be interested in doing that, and they're okay with emailing or inviting the opposing party. So I said, well, I'd be interested in knowing if the question that I'd like to answer is have whoever attends discuss about what they did to benefit MVD and PFAS, MVD's customers in the PFAS situation. And if you're not in a position to have any advocate for what you did, advocate for what you're going to do. Because I've heard from some of the candidates, and I don't see a lot of platform out there addressing PFAS anywhere. I see claims being made by some, including our governor, but I don't see where it actually happened. So I'm looking at this as an opportunity to invite them, to have them discuss what they did, because I'm not aware. And if I'm not aware, and I'm plugged into the PFAS situation pretty in depth, I think, if I'm not aware of what's going on, then everybody else is probably not aware either. So if there's an opportunity to make this happen, as long as I said it, I will present it to the board, see if the board feels comfortable in setting this up. And the other thing is, we don't want to run our staff around ragged like we did last time either. So I don't know how that would play out, but I'm kind of interested in understanding what the platforms are for everybody that's running for these positions, incumbents and new people as well. And that's at the Concord rep level as well as the federal level, you know? So depending on that, I'm just putting that out there. If we feel we want to have that happen, fine. If not, then no. But the assumption was it was predicated on inviting both sides of the party, both parties. And I think that's what the draft policy said, is we can't do this. It has to be politically inclusive or not at all.
I mean, I just, my personal opinion is, it's just, I just like to keep the MVD out of it. And it, yeah, but, I mean, you know, I just know it's just for political reasons, what, you know, it's not, it's one thing if they, you know, are doing a preference, hey, we got this great bill here, we want to explain, you know what I mean? It's just all for political purposes.
It is, I know, it is.
And it's not to, you know. So, I mean, I get it, you know, I respect the fact that it's open to both parties, but I just, but in the same breath,
Yeah,
it's all just we're just being used for the whatever politics. And I mean, here we are, we just discussed the other one. It's all about politics.
yeah,
And it's like,
it is. It is. And I mean, the only thing I say is it's politics, but we're voting for those politicians. And people in Merrimack and in southern New Hampshire need to know if this is an issue, if this is an issue, it's the biggest issue for us than it is anywhere else in the state.
Yeah.
And maybe even in the country for a lot of places. I mean, there's a lot of places in the country, but anyways.
well, yeah, I mean, yes, definitely. I mean, they'll past what you probably the past 20 years or so, we thought we were doing better as an environmentally, you know, with clean water and everything. And it this kind of, now who's ever thought that we would be having issues with drinking water, you know, and then you find out it's not just here,
Yeah,
Detroit, down at, you know, the military bases, you know, it's,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
so.
Why I would say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I mean, I know that feels a certain way, but I mean, if we don't, I hate to say involve ourselves in it, then the politicians just won't care because they'll move on to the next thing that gets the most noise.
And the other thing is, this gets them on record making commitments of what they will do to make MVD customers better off in southern New Hampshire. This puts their money where their mouth is. You see all the political ads out there that are telling them, they're only telling you what everyone else is not doing. They're not telling you what they're doing. And let's bring them and let them tell us to our face what they're going to do, what they did, what they're going to do. And if they don't want to show up after being invited, that tells you as well. So I'm in favor of doing this. I'm in favor of getting back to them and saying, proceed as long as you follow our rules. And we probably need to send that draft policy over or something so they.
What, I mean, where are they looking? I mean, this, I mean, like well 7, 8.
Probably one of our, I'm not sure which one,
I'm
yes.
assuming 4 and 5, since that's the only.
Well, they did it at 7 and 8
That's
last
why,
year.
yeah, they did it, you know. I mean, it's too bad they, you know, did say, well, how about you do it at the,
I guess it doesn't have to be here. I mean,
well, I mean, I guess I'm getting too bad it wouldn't be like a J Muse, for instance.
Yeah.
People
And then-
and kind of a thing.
The
Yeah.
people can attend, and then,
that's a good question too. You know, I'll mention that. and
You know,
say
'cause then
maybe
that
we can do
way
it at a more neutral-
probably more people could attend, and then, you know, and say, for instance,
More of a forum.
more of a forum, and then, and maybe, who knows, maybe more people would show up.
Yeah, I'm sure they.
And maybe, you know, say, for instance, both political parties show up or independents. And, if anybody's independently running, go and,
Then it's less probably hassle on our part with our staff.
well, and also, I mean,
I mean, I'd be willing to live with that caveat,
Yeah.
I mean, what you're talking about doesn't matter what's in the background, that there's
Yeah.
filter tanks in the
but
background.
also you put in consideration, here it is October. I mean, at least now, if you have it if we could do it at, the middle school or the high school, or whatever, you can have it at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, more
Yeah.
people that can come after work and here. Because right now, I mean, daylight wise or whatever, you're gonna have to have it in the mid-afternoon, and how many people will
Nobody's
be able
going
to
to
attend and
plan at 1
get a
o'clock.
benefit out of it?
Right.
I get that.
Ron, what's your opinion on that?
You know, I'm fine with either way. I mean, if we want to do something, more likely would probably be at 7 and 8. Because of that's, I mean, there was some grants involved at 4 and 5, but that was district funding and St. Cobain paying for that. So it's kind of not what they're,
Yeah,
so probably be at 7 and 8 because of the drinking water.
That's a good
trust
point.
fund,
Yeah.
Stuff. So I can.
that's where the funding went. It didn't go to
Exactly.
Wells 4 and 5. That's a good point. So if it's a location specific thing, that probably makes more sense, I guess.
We can have it at 4 and 5 and address supply chain issues too. So.
Yeah.
The only thing, I don't know if Kerry would have
Not 4
some issue with us trying to do it at JMUs, because now more seems like we're not just like opening the doors for them to use something, we're like putting on an event. I don't know if she would have an issue with that, or if that would go against.
I don't know that we would be actually putting it on though. I don't know, but you're right, because then what would we have to do with it then at that point? If it's at a town facility?
Yeah.
Then there would be no obligation to invite both sides, both parties, I guess.
Because now it's out of our hands, it's on the
Because
school
it's
board's
totally out of our
hands.
hands. I don't know. I just, I really want to try to hold the fire to the feet of a lot of
I would be fine.
everybody who's running.
I personally don't think all of them would show.
I don't either.
A select group of them would show up. I'd be fine with them doing it at, said 7 and 8, Ron.
Yeah, and I'm thinking I like the idea of having it at the plant, only because you have the visual. You have something, you can go up and touch and feel. You can
Or in your
see.
face.
Exactly.
And
Well, I was just thinking more because
People could
People
go.
could come, yeah.
more people can go, I mean, yeah, there's like
You're right.
5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it's gonna be dark
Nobody's gonna want to be outside.
No.
Obviously.
now.
And this might be too late for them anyway, that it was just a conversation today that, hey, we want to look into this more. We would be willing to extend invitations to the other party.
As
which
long
is-
as they understand that, yeah.
Which was the condition that I told them that they had to meet, that was what MVD decided on. So if they're willing to do that, it lines up with our policy.
Do we need a motion for that?
Want to make one,
Just to open,
officially have it, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, I'd make a motion to allow, as long as they have both parties going, then you allow them to.
And they'll
Whatever you
give
wanna
us the
call it, you set
invite
the
list
date,
and, yeah.
Yes. We're not just
So-
random people showing up
Right.
because.
But just to be clear, it's not just people running for Congress, it's also open to
Our-
They,
the state
State
reps
reps, yep.
and the Senate race.
Cause that was another,
if the governors want to come, 'cause I
absolutely.
mean, I wouldn't say they've been, a zero factor in this issue, so.
Yeah, I would put it out to the governor, the Tom Sherman, who's running for governor as well. All of them, who's
I would agree.
Custer, Shaheen, and Chris Pappas, as well as,
Well, Custer, you wouldn't have to because she's not in our district.
she's not, I guess it's,
It
I
would
guess
be
that's true.
Pappas, I don't think Hassan, it's just Hassan this time, right?
Yeah, Hassan.
Hassan's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ours. Yeah, because,
So would definitely predicate them on having us approve the invite list. Cause that would,
If not approved, then at least see the invite list.
I think we have to, I say we have to.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Want to write it or have a motion in a way that would they have to come back to a meeting and present us with some of how this is, how they, who's running it, how's it,
Well, this is happening probably in like
Yeah.
next week or
I
something.
think an email would be, because it would have to be in the next few weeks.
We do want to know this.
Our next
before the
meeting will
election.
be-
we're gonna lose control of it again, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
kind of just,
I know, and I don't want that to happen.
Yeah,
not that we want it to be our meeting, but we're not gonna have any control of what.
we're gonna
who's
have,
Sending out emails, who's inviting who, and, what kind of event is this
Yeah,
gonna be?
and I don't want to be the driver of that. I want to be abreast of it. and
Well, you told them that
approve.
as long as they emailed both parties, correct? You didn't say as long as we emailed.
No, I didn't want to get in the middle of emailing
No, but we should at least hear some sort of a conversation, I think, of
confirming.
how big of an event this is gonna
Oh,
be.
absolutely, yeah. They're asking us if it's even a starter to bother going further with this at this point is all this is about. So the next call would be probably tomorrow to start working out the logistics of it and then put an invite list together. And again, I would try to put as much on this, on them. This is Chris Pappas's office asking for this. So they're the ones who should be spending the money, getting the tables out there, getting the chairs out there, all that stuff, all the stuff that we had to participate in last year that we shouldn't have our staff running around. Certainly we can help out, but I think we were relied on too much last year to provide too much of it. And it became a burden. And that's part of the problem is I don't want to burden it. We don't want to burden the staff and we want to make it equitable to both.
I don't think it
parties.
was clear what was gonna happen.
No, I don't think it was.
That's where the invite list comes through, because they just showed up with whoever they felt like bringing along
Right.
with them.
And obviously we can check in town and make sure that all of the reps have been invited.
And then also, are they gonna be responsible for security at 20 years ago, 10 years ago, when, like, the way things are these days, I mean,
Yeah, no, you're right. What was last time? Did they even have any security issues out there? I don't even remember.
I don't know.
No, I mean, I don't know if they're calling this a press conference or what it is, but we'll have to work the details out and make sure whatever's happening is happening equitably to both parties. And if they're willing to do that, then I say, great. Then if everybody shows up and wants to talk about what they did and what they're gonna do for PFAS, so the voters know how Merrimack and MVD customers are gonna be represented in this issue, why wouldn't we want to do that? That's important to MVD customers. It's important to us. So, I mean, I'll second that motion. And
Yeah.
there's no more discussion. We can talk about it. We'll see. Maybe they're gonna say, forget it, it's too complicated, we're not gonna bother, but this is just a motion to get back to them to proceed with the details of this event.
if we don't like,
If we don't like the details,
Then we
Yeah.
say, no, this is literally just
we
so
have
this
last
is,
say.
we're just
in-
voting for them to
put together a plan.
initiate.
Exactly.
Yeah,
All right, so the motion is to vote to initiate.
to give them a
Interest.
green light to
Right.
begin initiating a plan.
I'm good with that.
Guest list, invite list. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna call it? Et cetera, et cetera.
Right. What are the topics discussed? That type of thing. It's a lot to pull off, believe me, in a week.
Well, if these
Oh,
people,
absolutely.
the whole point of not having Ron and Steph there, if these people want to run state, district, country, then you should be able to put
I
together.
think
a
they should
roundtable
have some
talk.
campaign
You know what I
funds
mean?
available. to,
Exactly.
Put all this together, that we don't have to burden us.
If you don't have the interns to get together a few foldable chairs. I don't know what to tell you.
They've asked us to provide the location and part of
That's what
the,
we're doing.
part of the stipulation on the location is you gotta follow our draft policy, which is
Correct.
whoever you invite on your side, you gotta invite the opposite side. And work out the details and let them provide all of the, whatever, if they got food, if they got tables, if they got chairs, if they need MVD to help out a little bit, fine, but I think last time we were like the main providers.
Yeah,
of
we're not running
stuff.
point on this.
And I don't wanna do that, so. If we approve this meeting, I'll call, the guy's name was Patrick from Congressman Pappas's office, so I'll call him back. Say, in concept, you're free to go ahead and pursue this. You just got to work the details out. And I'll explain him what we talked about. And then hopefully he can start putting this together and get the ball rolling. And if I'll tell him if during the process, if there's something in there that we don't like,
Then we can
we
ditch
can
out.
shut it down or have you change it. If you don't want to change it, then it's done. We're not going to do it.
Submit something to us prior to the.
Explaining what the whole thing's gonna,
Okay.
So we can approve before going forward.
right. All right, so I'll second that. I guess we can vote. All those in favor, just the three of us,
Aye.
3-0-0 in favor, and I'll tell you guys what happens. Well, you'll hear about it one way or the other, but I appreciate that. I mean, I think it's good to, we were accused last time of not inviting everyone, of not giving an opportunity. There was a question about setting up a visit at Wells 4 and 5 earlier this year with one of the other people running for Senate. And, I think Wolf took that up and tried to make that happen, and it fell through for whatever reasons. But
No, none of you know.
again, I was accused of not following through, and this is an opportunity to have people come and talk about what they wanted. You got something to say, show up. Tell us what your plan is. What's your experience? What's your plan? What have you done? What are you going to do? That's kind of what I want to hear.
Mm.
Because I haven't heard that from most. And what I have heard doesn't make sense to let the private sector solve the problem. That's not the answer. All right, great. So moving on, sorry to belabor this, guys. I think next, we don't have any other new business.
No.
No.
I'll let someone else do the talking. Ron, you have your superintendent's report.
Just one quick thing, tomorrow night, Keith and I will be going to the planning board for CIP discussion.
Awesome.
Ah,
I'm excited for it, Ron.
gonna be there.
I am.
Nice.
It's gonna be a busy night tomorrow night.
Yes, sounds like it.
It does.
Good.
It's all departments, correct?
And then other agenda items that are gonna take some time. We won't get through the whole agenda before 11.
Wow.
Yeah, there are some nights on like that. It is what it is.
Well, I feel like we're in pretty good shape there. Only 3 hours into it now, 3 1/4. So on that note, we'll look at,
To get his rest.
yeah. So you, they good on the superintendent's
Yeah, no,
report?
I just want to mention that.
So how did the billing play out? We ended up billing for October, September use. We billed in October, right?
Yes,
The whole town, the whole customer base got a bill. So some customers got a bill for 1 month, some for 2 months, some for 3 months.
and I don't know if it all, I know. Follow up with Amy, I believe.
I got a bill yet.
But I know she was still working through some issues on the, I don't know which route we're in now, but
Okay,
yeah.
I don't think I saw a bill yet, so maybe they weren't all sent out. Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't think they were all sent out at the same time, but yeah, she's still working through.
All right,
And like I said, my understanding was she changed one thing. And it threw everything else off on the bill, and then she had to talk to COSI to get it
oh, wow.
straightened back out. But a lot of it is, it can be done, but it would work best for monthly billing, not trying to manipulate it to do
Yeah.
quarterly.
So did we not bother reaching out to the software company and telling them we want them to like write a routine to modify the software to work this way?
No, I think she's looking for help, but I don't know if it was, anything like that wouldn't have helped us for this last
No.
bill. So if we continue to do, quarterly reading for the next rate increase, we would set up for that one. It wouldn't have helped for this last one, but
All right.
nothing would have been done in time.
So we haven't made any further progress on determining what we want to do going forward with either going monthly monthly billing and meter readings, or every quarter, but the whole customer base on the same quarter instead
We
of
have
having
it, so we can,
you still gotta go.
we can do
revisit
a
that.
future meeting on that and we can have some information. on it. Whether it's next month, it seems like we're gonna have a lot on the next month's agenda if that's on there as well.
It does, yeah. We'll see how that shakes.
Yeah, no, I mean, we
Okay.
can certainly,
At least, we'll have an update on how it all, because by the next meeting, we'll
yeah, we'll definitely have. an
looking in the
update.
rear view mirror on this month, so we see how the billing went. Okay, so I guess the only thing left is questions from the press and public. I don't know if you can see if there's any public on the line.
I'm seeing
Participants is just three,
Just us.
just the three of us, MTV and, okay. All right, seeing no press, no public. Next meeting is November 21st, Monday. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion by Paul, second by Ken. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, 300. Thanks, everybody.